What if the demons of the Ars Goetia aren't just hellish fiends, but reflections of humanity's deepest fears and desires? These entities, often dismissed as malevolent, may hold secrets that could shatter our understanding of reality, or consume us. Today, we embark on a journey into one of the most enigmatic and controversial texts in occult history. The Ars Goetia, the first book of the Lesser Key of Solomon, is a grimoire, a spell book, containing descriptions of 72 demons, their seals, and the incantations purportedly used to summon them. Rooted in ancient magical traditions and medieval Kabbalistic practices, the Goetia gained prominence during the Renaissance, a period of renewed interest in classical knowledge and esoteric arts. But the Goetia is more than just a dusty historical artifact. It remains a living document, a source of fascination and inspiration for occultists, scholars, and artists seeking to plumb the depths of the human psyche and explore the hidden dimensions of reality. However, such exploration is not without risk. The path of demonology is fraught with inherent dangers and ethical considerations, and it is crucial to approach this subject with both caution and respect, mindful of the potential consequences of tampering with forces beyond our comprehension. In this obsessive exploration, we promise to go far beyond mere surface-level descriptions, uncovering the hidden connections, historical contexts, and symbolic meanings embedded within each demon's profile. You'll discover the surprising origins of their names, tracing some back to ancient pagan deities, revealing a fascinating continuity of belief and worship across different cultures and eras. We will dissect their intricate sigils, revealing how they may represent complex cosmological or psychological principles, and we will explore the potential psychological interpretations of the Goetia, suggesting that its rituals are not just about summoning external entities, but techniques for accessing and integrating the hidden aspects of the human mind. Prepare to have long-held assumptions challenged as we navigate the sinister corridors of demonology. The primary aim of this video is to deconstruct the traditional view of Goetic demons as purely malevolent entities. We will demonstrate that they may, in fact, represent multifaceted archetypes with diverse origins, powers, and purposes that have been deliberately obscured, misinterpreted, or demonized over centuries. To understand these entities fully, we must examine their historical roots in ancient mythologies and religious systems, decode their symbolic representations within the Goetia itself, and explore their potential psychological significance as reflections of the human subconscious. It is an interdisciplinary approach that bridges the gap between history, mythology, psychology, and the occult. Now, many of you may be understandably skeptical about the existence or power of demons, or perhaps view demonology as a dangerous and taboo subject, associated with madness or even evil. It is important to emphasize that this video is intended as an objective and informative exploration of the subject, not an endorsement of any particular belief system or practice. Whether you believe in the literal existence of demons or view them as psychological archetypes, the study of demonology can offer valuable insights into the nature of evil, the power of belief, and humanity's enduring fascination with the unknown, the forbidden, and the hidden corners of reality. These are concepts as relevant today as they were centuries ago. Let us begin our obsessive exploration of the 72 demons of the Ars Goetia. Is Baal merely a demon of hell, or a misunderstood god cloaked in shadow? As the first demon listed in the Ars Goetia, Baal sets the stage for a journey into the complex hierarchy and ancient origins of these infernal entities, his position alone demanding respect and attention. He is far more than a simple fiend. Baal represents a confluence of ancient pagan beliefs, demonized deities, and primal forces, a complex symbol demanding a nuanced understanding if we are to truly grasp the nature of the Goetia. Are we looking at a corrupted idol or a primal force man should not meddle with? To truly understand Baal, we must first journey back to the ancient civilizations that revered him as Baal, a prominent deity in the Canaanite and Phoenician pantheons. Far from being a demon, Baal was a god of fertility, agriculture, and storms, a vital source of life and prosperity for these ancient peoples. Temples were erected in his honor, sacrifices were made to appease him, and his name was invoked in times of drought or famine, a testament to his power and influence, a power that would later be twisted and demonized by competing religious forces. What transformed this revered god into a feared demon? The transition of Baal from a respected deity to a demonized figure is a direct result of religious conflict and the rise of Judeo-Christian traditions. As these new religions gained prominence, they systematically demonized the gods of rival faiths, recasting them as evil entities in opposition to their own divinities. Baal, with his widespread worship and potent symbolism, became a prime target for this demonization, his image deliberately distorted and vilified to undermine his followers and assert the dominance of the new religious order. This wasn't about theological differences. It was about power. His legacy continued in various grimoires and demonological texts, most notably the Pseudo-Monarchia Daemonum. But what attributes did these texts ascribe to him? The Ars Goetia describes Baal as a powerful king ruling over legions of spirits, granting the power of invisibility, wisdom, and profound knowledge to those who dare to summon him. He is said to appear in various forms, including a man, a cat, a toad, or a combination thereof, each form imbued with symbolic meaning. The man represents intelligence and authority, the cat embodies cunning and independence, and the toad symbolizes hidden knowledge and transformation, a potent combination of attributes that speaks to Baal's multifaceted nature and the diverse powers he offers. But what are the origins of these bizarre forms? Historical accounts and legends offer glimpses into Baal's influence and manifestations throughout history. Occult texts describe elaborate rituals for summoning Baal, promising wealth, power, and the revelation of hidden secrets, albeit with dire warnings about the potential consequences of failure or disrespect. Some modern occultists claim to have successfully worked with Baal, reporting experiences ranging from subtle insights and increased intuition to dramatic manifestations and profound personal transformations, results that speak to the enduring power of belief and the human capacity to tap into unseen forces. What implications might these anecdotal results suggest? The symbolic meaning of Baal's attributes and powers connects to broader themes of knowledge, transformation, and the manipulation of reality. His ability to grant invisibility represents the power to conceal oneself from scrutiny, to operate in the shadows, or to perceive hidden truths, tools which could be as useful as they are dangerous. His association with wisdom and knowledge speaks to the human desire for understanding and enlightenment, but also the potential dangers of seeking forbidden or esoteric knowledge, something not all humans are prepared for. What does Baal represent? The animal forms associated with Baal can be interpreted as representations of primal instincts, hidden knowledge, or the ability to navigate different realms of existence. The cat's association with cunning and independence suggests the ability to think outside the box and forge one's own path, while the toad's connection to hidden knowledge and transformation speaks to the potential for inner growth and the ability to unlock hidden potential. But can he truly unlock all potential? From a psychological perspective, Baal can be seen as an archetype representing the shadow self, inner wisdom, or the ability to confront and integrate repressed aspects of the psyche. Summoning Baal, in this context, becomes a metaphor for confronting one's inner demons, embracing one's hidden potential, and integrating the darker aspects of the self into a more complete and balanced whole, a process which is as terrifying as it is necessary. This leads us to our next demon, Pema. Another king of hell with equally complex origins and associations. Where Baal embodies primal forces and ancient pagan beliefs, Pema represents intellectual prowess and mastery of the arts. The transition from Baal to Pema highlights the diversity within the demonic hierarchy and foreshadows a deeper exploration of the relationships between different demons and their roles in the infernal court. What overarching theme do we begin to see? However, not everyone agrees that Baal and other Goetic demons are complex archetypes with valuable lessons to offer. Some view them as purely malevolent entities, dangerous forces to be avoided at all costs, citing religious or moral objections to demonolatry and warning against the potential dangers of invoking such entities, a perspective rooted in fear and a lack of understanding. What are the dangers, however? It is important to acknowledge the potential dangers of invoking demons, cautioning against reckless experimentation, and emphasizing the importance of ethical considerations. Tampering with unseen forces without proper knowledge, respect, and a clear understanding of the potential consequences can be disastrous, leading to psychological distress, spiritual imbalance, or even unintended harm to oneself or others. Can we be certain that these demons are completely separate from ourselves? Despite these counterarguments, the evidence strongly suggests that Baal is far more than a simple demon. His origins in ancient pagan religions, his multifaceted symbolism, and his enduring presence in occult traditions all point to a more complex and nuanced understanding of this enigmatic entity. In the end, Baal is a powerful symbol of transformation, knowledge, and the hidden potential within us all, whether for good or for ill. So, as we reflect on Baal's multifaceted nature, we must ask ourselves, are these demons truly evil, or are they merely misunderstood forces waiting to be understood and perhaps even utilized? And what makes Baal different from the other kings of hell? What secrets does he guard that others do not? Where Baal embodies primal forces and ancient pagan beliefs, Pema, another king in the infernal hierarchy, represents intellectual prowess and mastery of the arts and sciences, though his loyalty to Lucifer may not be as comforting as it seems. While Baal commands legions with brute force, Pema influences through knowledge and cunning, offering a different path to power. But does this path lead to enlightenment or deception? To truly understand Pema, we must delve into his possible etymological roots and trace his appearances throughout demonological history. The origin of his name remains uncertain, with some scholars suggesting connections to Near Eastern deities or linguistic roots associated with skill or name, while others believe it to be derived from the Greek word peme, meaning to play, hinting at his manipulative nature. Regardless of its precise origin, Pema's name appears in numerous grimoires, each offering slightly different descriptions of his powers and appearance, though the theme of knowledge remains a constant. How do these descriptions compare to Baal? The ARS Goetia describes Pema as a powerful king, obedient to Lucifer, who appears as a man with a crowned head riding a dromedary. He is said to possess vast knowledge of the arts, sciences, and secret matters, which he readily imparts to those who summon him. Unlike Baal's shifting forms, Pema's consistent appearance on a dromedary is a key identifier, a symbol ripe for interpretation. He commands 200 legions of spirits, a testament to his authority within the demonic hierarchy, a hierarchy that demands strict adherence to the infernal laws. What sets Pema apart from the other kings? Grimoires detail elaborate rituals for summoning Pema, often involving offerings, incantations, and the creation of specific sigils. These rituals emphasize respect and obedience, reflecting Pema's own subservience to Lucifer, a dynamic not always present with Baal, who seems to operate with more autonomy. Historical accounts and modern occultists claim that Pema can grant knowledge of all things hidden, reveal secrets of the past and future, and bestow mastery of various arts and sciences. One such account, found in the Grimorium Verum, details a complex ritual involving candles, incense, and specific recitations to compel Pema to reveal hidden treasures and impart esoteric wisdom. But at what cost? The symbolic meaning of Pema's attributes is multi-layered, reflecting the complexities of knowledge, authority, and the pursuit of hidden wisdom. His crowned head signifies his authority and intellectual prowess, while the dromedary he rides may represent endurance, travel, or the ability to navigate the barren landscape of the mind. But here's what most people miss. The dromedary, a beast of burden, might also symbolize the burden of knowledge itself. Is Pema offering enlightenment, or is he merely saddling his summoners with a weight they cannot bear? This leads us to the next demon, Zagan, a king and president of hell known for his ability to transmute metals and make men witty. Where Pema offers vast knowledge across many disciplines, Zagan specializes in transformation and refinement, creating a fascinating parallel. The transition from Pema to Zagan allows us to explore the theme of demonic specialization and the unique gifts each entity offers, highlighting a crucial element of the infernal court, skill diversity. But can any of these demons be trusted? However, not everyone views Pema as a benevolent source of knowledge. Some consider him a deceptive entity who offers false knowledge or leads those who seek him astray. Cautionary tales abound of those who summoned Pema seeking enlightenment, but instead found themselves consumed by madness, obsession, or spiritual ruin. Religious warnings against seeking forbidden knowledge often cite Pema as a prime example of the dangers of consorting with demons, a warning that echoes through centuries of demonological discourse. What is the true nature of Pema's knowledge? It is crucial to acknowledge the potential dangers of seeking knowledge from demonic entities. The pursuit of forbidden wisdom can be a dangerous path, leading to unforeseen consequences and potentially compromising one's moral compass. Discernment, ethical considerations, and a deep understanding of the potential risks are essential for anyone considering invoking Pema or any other Goetic demon. Is all knowledge worth acquiring, regardless of the source? Despite these counterarguments, Pema remains an enduring figure of fascination and intrigue within occult traditions. His association with knowledge, authority, and hidden wisdom continues to captivate those who seek to unlock the mysteries of the universe and tap into the hidden potential within themselves. The Goetic demons are not simply evil entities, but complex archetypes that reflect humanity's eternal quest for understanding and power, a quest that often leads us down perilous paths. So, as you reflect on Pema's complex nature, consider this. Is he a guide to enlightenment or a tempter leading us towards our own destruction? And what other secrets are contained within the demonic hierarchy? What other knowledge can be gained by seeking out these beings? Where Pema reigns over knowledge and secret arts, Asmodeus, another great king of hell, commands destructive forces and embodies the darker aspects of desire. While Pema offers enlightenment, Asmodeus tempts with forbidden pleasures and the promise of earthly power. But is Asmodeus merely a bringer of chaos, or does his destructive nature conceal a deeper, more cunning intelligence? To understand Asmodeus, we must trace his origins back to ancient Zoroastrianism, where he first appeared as Ishmadeva, a demon of wrath. Over time, Ishmadeva's attributes evolved, transforming him from a relatively minor spirit of anger into a powerful demon associated with lust, vengeance, and destruction. This evolution highlights the changing perception of evil across different cultures and eras, a shift as dramatic as the one we saw with Baal. How did this transformation shape the Asmodeus we know today? The Book of Tobit offers one of the earliest and most vivid depictions of Asmodeus, where he appears as a jealous demon who murders Sarah's 7 husbands on their wedding nights. Driven by lust for Sarah, Asmodeus embodies the destructive power of uncontrolled desire. This narrative establishes Asmodeus as a formidable adversary, capable of inflicting both physical and spiritual harm. Does this biblical account reveal the true nature of Asmodeus? Within the Ars Goetia, Asmodeus retains his position as a great king, described as powerful, strong, and part of the infernal host. He grants the ability to find hidden treasures and answers questions regarding earthly and cosmic things. Unlike the more benevolent portrayal of Pema's knowledge, Asmodeus's gifts come with a darker edge, often requiring a sacrifice or leading to unforeseen consequences? Is the price of Asmodeus's knowledge worth paying? Grimoires and occult texts detail specific rituals for summoning Asmodeus, often requiring offerings of silver, frankincense, and specific incantations recited under the light of a waning moon. These rituals emphasize the need for caution and respect, as Asmodeus is said to be easily angered and prone to inflicting harm upon those who displease him. One such ritual, found in the Grimorium Verum, warns of Asmodeus's fiery breath and the need for a protective circle to contain his destructive power, a precaution not always emphasized with Pema. But what happens when the circle breaks? Accounts from historical sources and modern occultists who claim to have worked with Asmodeus reveal a consistent pattern. Requests often center around lust, revenge, and the acquisition of power. Those who seek his aid often report experiencing intense dreams, visions, and a heightened sense of desire, a testament to Asmodeus's influence over the human psyche. Are these experiences merely the product of suggestion, or do they reflect a genuine interaction with a demonic entity? The symbolic meaning of Asmodeus's attributes and powers is deeply rooted in themes of lust, destruction, hidden knowledge, and the shadow self. His connection to forbidden desires represents the allure of temptation and the potential for self-destruction. He reflects the primal urges that drive humanity and the darker aspects of the human condition that society often seeks to suppress. Is Asmodeus simply a scapegoat for our own repressed desires? This brings us to the next demon, Gop, a great president who can cause love or hatred, teach philosophy and sciences, deliver familiars, and take men out of the power of other magicians. This transition allows us to examine the subtle nuances within demonic powers, highlighting how love and hatred, two opposing emotions, can be wielded by the same entity. How does Gop's control over emotions compare to Asmodeus's influence over desires? However, not everyone agrees with this nuanced interpretation of Asmodeus. Some consider him a purely evil entity, a force of corruption that seeks to destroy humanity and lead souls astray. Religious teachings often condemn any interaction with Asmodeus, warning of the dangers of succumbing to temptation and the consequences of consorting with demons. Is this a fair assessment of Asmodeus? It is important to acknowledge the very real dangers of succumbing to destructive desires. Uncontrolled lust, vengeance, and the pursuit of power can lead to devastating consequences, both for individuals and for society as a whole. Self-control, ethical considerations, and a deep understanding of the potential risks are essential for anyone considering invoking Asmodeus or any other Goetic demon. Is it possible to control one's desires, or are we all susceptible to the influence of demons like Asmodeus? Despite these counterarguments, Asmodeus remains an enduring figure of fascination and intrigue within occult traditions. He is a complex archetype that reflects humanity's ongoing struggle with temptation, power, and the darker aspects of the self. His story serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us of the importance of balance, self-control, and ethical considerations in the pursuit of knowledge and power. So, as you reflect on the complex nature of Asmodeus, ask yourself, is he a force of pure evil or a reflection of our own inner demons? And what other secrets and warnings lie hidden within the ranks of the ARS Goetia? Are we destined to be slaves to our desires, or can we rise above them? This brings us to Gop, a great prince of hell, but is he simply another purveyor of infernal power, or does his nature reveal a more complex dynamic within the demonic hierarchy? Unlike the destructive Asmodeus or the regal Pema, Gop distinguishes himself with his unique capacity as a teacher of philosophy and the liberal arts, coupled with his unsettling ability to steal familiars from other magicians. This curious duality sets him apart, hinting at a paradox, a demon who offers both enlightenment and loss. What could be the purpose of a demon who bestows knowledge while simultaneously robbing others of their magical allies? To understand Gop, we must delve into the etymological mysteries surrounding his name. Unlike many other demons whose names can be traced back to ancient Semitic languages or pagan deities, the origins of Gop are far less clear, shrouded in obscurity. Some scholars speculate a possible connection to the Hebrew word gar, meaning to bellow or to cry out, suggesting a link to the sounds of incantations or the cries of those who have lost their familiars. Others propose a connection to more obscure roots, perhaps lost languages or forgotten dialects, highlighting the enigmatic nature of this particular demon. Is the ambiguity of his name a deliberate obfuscation or simply a consequence of time and lost knowledge? Gop appears in several grimoires beyond the Ars Goetia, each offering slightly different descriptions of his powers and attributes. In some texts, he is portrayed as a powerful guide who can lead the magician to any location in the world, both physical and spiritual. Other texts emphasize his role as a teacher, capable of imparting profound knowledge in philosophy, science, and the arts. Still others focus on his darker side, highlighting his ability to incite love or hatred and to steal familiars from other magicians, sowing discord and chaos within the magical community. These variations raise a crucial question. Are these different facets of the same entity, or are they separate interpretations reflecting the magician's own desires and intentions? As described in the Ars Goetia, Gop is a mighty prince who appears when the sun is in a southern sign, commanding 66 legions of spirits. He is said to appear in human form, preceded by 4 powerful kings, a detail absent in the descriptions of Asmodeus or Pema. Gop's primary attributes include the ability to impart knowledge of philosophy and the liberal arts, transport individuals to any location, and steal familiars from other magicians. He can also incite love or hatred, answer questions about the past, present, and future, and reveal the secrets of other kingdoms. His position within the demonic hierarchy, as a prince commanding legions, suggests a figure of significant authority and influence, a demon whose actions have far-reaching consequences. But what motivates Gop to act in these seemingly contradictory ways? Grimoires detail specific rituals for summoning Gop, often requiring a triangular altar, specific incantations, and offerings of incense and precious stones. The magician must be careful to treat Gop with respect, as he is said to be proud and easily offended. One particularly detailed ritual, found in the Book of Oberon, describes the preparation of a special amulet engraved with Gop's sigil, designed to protect the magician from his more malevolent influences. The amulet must be consecrated with specific herbs and oils, and the magician must recite a lengthy incantation invoking Gop's name and titles. Are these elaborate rituals simply theatrical displays, or are they necessary to establish a connection with a powerful entity? Accounts from historical sources and modern occultists who claim to have worked with Gop reveal a diverse range of experiences. Some report gaining profound knowledge and insights into philosophical and scientific concepts, while others claim to have been transported to exotic locations or received assistance in matters of love and relationships. However, there are also accounts of those who have suffered negative consequences, such as the loss of their familiars, the onset of mental instability, or the experience of being haunted by malevolent spirits. One modern occultist recounts how, after successfully summoning Gop and receiving valuable knowledge, he found his connection with his familiar weakening, eventually leading to its complete departure. Was the knowledge gained worth the price of such a loss? The symbolic meaning of Gop's attributes and powers is rich with potential interpretations. His ability to teach philosophy and the liberal arts can be seen as representing the pursuit of knowledge and the expansion of consciousness. His power to transport individuals to different locations symbolizes the potential for transformation and the breaking down of limiting beliefs. However, his ability to steal familiars introduces a darker element, suggesting the potential for loss, betrayal, and the disruption of established relationships. Does Gop's nature embody the duality of knowledge itself, a force that can both enlighten and destroy. This leads us to the next figure in the Goetic hierarchy, Salos, who is a great duke that causes love between the sexes and encourages passion, continuing our exploration of demons associated with relationships and the complex emotions that drive human behavior. But how does Salos' influence over love compare to Gop's power to incite both love and hatred? And what does this tell us about the nature of demonic influence on human emotions? However, not everyone views Gop as a complex figure embodying the duality of knowledge. Some consider him a purely malevolent entity, a thief and a deceiver who offers false knowledge and steals valuable spiritual connections. Religious teachings often warn against seeking knowledge from demonic sources, emphasizing the potential for corruption and the dangers of consorting with evil spirits. Are these warnings simply the product of fear and ignorance, or do they reflect a genuine understanding of the risks involved? It is important to acknowledge the potential dangers of seeking knowledge from any source, whether demonic or otherwise. The pursuit of knowledge without ethical considerations or a strong sense of personal responsibility can lead to disastrous consequences. Unbalanced or incomplete knowledge can be more dangerous than ignorance, leading to flawed judgment, destructive actions, and the erosion of moral values. Is it possible to acquire knowledge without being corrupted by it? Despite these counterarguments, Gop remains a compelling figure within occult traditions, embodying the complex and often contradictory nature of knowledge itself. He is a reminder that the pursuit of enlightenment can be a dangerous path, fraught with peril and the potential for both great gain and devastating loss. His story serves as a cautionary tale, urging us to approach the acquisition of knowledge with discernment, ethical awareness, and a deep understanding of the potential consequences. So, as you reflect on the enigmatic nature of Gop, ask yourself, is he a teacher or a thief, a guide or a deceiver? And what does his story tell us about the true nature of knowledge, power, and the choices we make in our pursuit of understanding? Are some truths better left undiscovered, or is the quest for knowledge always worth the risk? Now let's turn our attention to Marchoses, a Marquis of Hell, initially appearing as a wolf or an ox before transforming into a winged man at the conjurer's request, a stark contrast to Gop's role as a guide and thief. But what makes Marchoses truly stand out is his supposed loyalty to the conjurer and his expressed desire to return to heaven, an aspiration absent in the motivations of Gop and Asmodeus. Is this loyalty genuine, or is it a carefully constructed facade? And what implications does this desire for redemption hold within the infernal hierarchy? Marchoses' purported ability to truthfully answer any question and his renowned skill in combat set a tone of reliable knowledge intertwined with martial prowess, leading us to wonder if this demon embodies a unique blend of honesty and strength, or if his virtues are simply tools of manipulation. To understand Marchoses, we must delve into the potential origins of his name. Unlike some demons whose etymologies are relatively clear, the roots of Marchoses are somewhat obscured. Some scholars propose a connection to the Latin word martio, meaning marquis, reflecting his rank within the demonic hierarchy. Others suggest a possible derivation from a combination of Hebrew or Aramaic terms, potentially relating to concepts of bitterness, oppression, or even swiftness, mirroring his martial abilities and the potential consequences of his knowledge. Still others suggest a far older, pre-Judeo-Christian origin, with the name perhaps stemming from a forgotten deity or spirit associated with wolves or warfare, a connection that may have been reinterpreted and incorporated into the Goetic tradition. Does the true origin of his name lie buried in a forgotten past, or is it a deliberate construct designed to reflect his role and attributes? Marchoses makes appearances in various grimoires and occult texts beyond the Ars Goetia, each offering slightly different nuances to his character. While the Ars Goetia primarily focuses on his abilities to answer questions truthfully and impart combat skills, Other texts elaborate on his knowledge of hidden treasures, his capacity to reveal secrets of the past, and his power to influence the outcome of battles. Some accounts even suggest that Marchoses possesses healing abilities, a power rarely attributed to demons within the Goetic tradition, further complicating his nature and blurring the lines between benevolent and malevolent forces. These variations beg the question, are these differing accounts simply alternative interpretations, or do they reflect a more multifaceted and ultimately unknowable reality of Marchoses' true nature? As described in the Ars Goetia, Marchoses is a mighty marquis of hell, initially appearing in the form of a wolf or an ox, before transforming into a winged man at the request of the conjurer. He commands 30 legions of spirits and is said to have served in the angelic orders before his fall. His primary attributes include the ability to answer questions truthfully on all subjects, particularly those related to warfare and strategy. But what sets him apart is his stated desire to return to heaven, a longing that distinguishes him from many other demons who seem resigned to their infernal existence. This begs the question, is Marchoses' desire for redemption a genuine aspiration, or is it a calculated deception designed to manipulate those who summon him? Grimoires and occult texts detail specific rituals for summoning Marchoses, often emphasizing the importance of respect and reverence. The conjurer must create a protective circle, recite specific incantations, and offer appropriate tributes, typically in the form of incense and precious metals. One particularly detailed ritual, found in the Grimorium Verum, describes the preparation of a special talisman inscribed with Marchoses' sigil, designed to amplify his truth-telling abilities and ensure the conjurer receives accurate information. The ritual also emphasizes the importance of ethical considerations, cautioning the conjurer against using Marchoses' knowledge for malicious purposes. Does the emphasis on respect and ethical conduct reflect a genuine need to appease a powerful entity, or is it a self-imposed safeguard against the potential consequences of wielding forbidden knowledge? Accounts from historical sources and modern occultists who claim to have worked with Marchoses reveal a diverse range of experiences. Some report receiving invaluable insights into military strategy, gaining an advantage in competitive endeavors, or uncovering hidden truths about historical events. Others claim to have received warnings about impending dangers or guidance in making difficult decisions. However, there are also accounts of those who have been deceived or manipulated by Marchoses, receiving false information that led to negative consequences. One modern occultist recounts how, after summoning Marchoses for guidance on a business venture, he received advice that initially seemed promising but ultimately led to financial ruin. Was this a deliberate act of deception or a misinterpretation of the information provided? The symbolic meaning of Marchoses' attributes and powers is rich with potential interpretations. His initial animal form can be seen as representing primal instincts, untamed power, and a connection to the natural world. His transformation into a winged man symbolizes reason, enlightenment, and the potential for spiritual ascension. His stated desire to return to heaven represents the longing for redemption, the struggle between good and evil, and the inherent duality of nature. But can a demon truly be redeemed, or is this simply a reflection of humanity's own desire to reconcile with its darker aspects? This leads us to the next demon in the Goetic hierarchy, Ramil, who is associated with lightning and visions, perhaps offering another perspective on truth and illumination, shifting our focus from martial prowess to more ephemeral and potentially deceptive insights. But how does Ramil's association with visions compare to Marchoses' supposed truthfulness? And what does this suggest about the different ways in which demonic entities can influence human perception and understanding? However, not everyone views Marchoses as a complex figure embodying the struggle for redemption. Some consider him a purely malevolent entity, a deceiver who uses his truth-telling abilities to manipulate and control those who summon him. Religious teachings often warn against trusting demonic entities, emphasizing their inherent capacity for deception and their ultimate goal of leading humanity astray. Are these warnings simply the product of fear and superstition, or do they reflect a genuine understanding of the dangers involved in consorting with demonic forces? It is also important to acknowledge that the concept of Marchosius's desire for heaven may be a later addition to the Goetic tradition, designed to make the demons more palatable or to explore the theme of redemption within a demonological context. Some scholars suggest that this element was introduced during the Christianization of pagan beliefs as a way to reconcile the existence of demons with the concept of divine grace and forgiveness. Is Marchosius's story a reflection of humanity's evolving understanding of good and evil, or is it a deliberate attempt to sanitize a dangerous and inherently corrupting force? Despite these counterarguments, Marchosius remains a fascinating and enigmatic figure within occult traditions, embodying the complex and often contradictory nature of truth, loyalty, and redemption. He is a reminder that even in the darkest corners of the infernal realm, the possibility of change and transformation may exist. His story serves as a cautionary tale, urging us to approach the pursuit of knowledge and power with discernment, ethical awareness, and a deep understanding of the potential consequences. So, as you reflect on the multifaceted nature of Marchosius, consider this: can a demon truly be trusted? Is his desire to return to heaven genuine, or is it a cunning deception? And what does this tell us about the blurred lines between good and evil, truth and falsehood, and the enduring human quest for redemption, even in the most unlikely of places? Is Marchosius a beacon of hope in the darkness, or simply a more sophisticated form of deception? While Marchosius offered truth and loyalty, we now turn to Raum, a great Earl of Hell, a figure associated with theft, destruction, and a very different kind of knowledge, prophecy. Is Raum a harbinger of inevitable doom, or a chaotic force offering a chance for renewal through destruction? Unlike Marchosius, who seeks redemption, or Gop, who seeks to teach, Raum embodies a primal force, a whirlwind of entropy capable of leveling cities and stealing fortunes, offering glimpses into a future that may be as terrifying as it is unavoidable. The image of Raum as a crow, a scavenger of battlefields, and a messenger of ill omen, paints a picture of a morally ambiguous entity, hinting at both the potential for harm and the tantalizing prospect of foresight. What hidden truths lie behind Raum's destructive tendencies, and what can we learn from the chaos he embodies? To begin understanding Raum, we must delve into the potential origins of his name, seeking clues within the labyrinth of ancient languages and mythologies. Unlike some demonic names with relatively straightforward etymologies, Raum presents a puzzle with several possible interpretations vying for consideration. Some scholars propose a connection to the Proto-Germanic word raumas, meaning space or room, suggesting a link to the void, the boundless expanse of potential that exists before creation, hinting that Raum might be the destructive force that makes way for the new. Others point to a potential Egyptian origin, linking Raum to figures associated with chaos and destruction, mirroring the destructive capabilities of this demon. It's even possible that the name is unique to the Goetic tradition, a deliberate construction designed to encapsulate the essence of this destructive and prophetic entity. Is his name a clue to his true nature, or a carefully constructed enigma designed to obscure it? Raum appears in various grimoires and occult texts beyond the Ars Goetia, each offering unique insights into his character and abilities. While the Ars Goetia primarily focuses on his powers of theft, destruction, and prophecy, other texts expand upon his capacity to sow discord among friends and reconcile enemies, making him a master manipulator of human relationships. Some accounts even attribute to Raum the ability to control the weather, unleashing storms and tempests upon those who displease him, further amplifying his association with chaos and destruction. The Grimorium Verum, for example, details specific rituals for harnessing Raum's destructive energies, cautioning the conjurer to wield his power with extreme care lest they become the target of his wrath. Do these varied accounts represent different facets of a single entity, or do they suggest that Raum is simply a label applied to a collection of similar spirits? As described in the Ars Goetia, Raum is a great Earl of Hell, commanding 30 legions of spirits and appearing in the form of a crow, a stark contrast to the human form of Gop and the initial animal form of Marchoses. His primary attributes include the ability to steal possessions, destroy cities, foresee the future, and reconcile enemies, a seemingly contradictory set of powers that highlights the paradoxical nature of this enigmatic entity. While his destructive abilities are undeniable, his prophetic gifts offer a glimpse into the future, allowing those who dare to consult him to anticipate dangers and prepare for what is to come. But is this knowledge a blessing or a curse? And does the power to foresee the future imply the ability to change it? Or are we merely puppets of destiny, dancing to a tune composed by Raum himself? Grimoires and occult texts detail specific rituals for summoning Raum, often involving offerings of dark wine, incense, and precious metals, similar to other Goetic rituals. The conjurer must draw a protective circle, recite specific incantations, and maintain a firm will to avoid being overwhelmed by Raum's chaotic energy. One particularly detailed ritual, found in the Book of Oberon, describes the creation of a sigil inscribed on a raven's skull, designed to amplify Raum's prophetic abilities and allow the conjurer to receive visions of the future. The ritual also emphasizes the importance of controlling one's emotions, as Raum is said to prey on fear and doubt, using them to manipulate and deceive those who summon him. Is this elaborate preparation merely a symbolic act, or is it a necessary defense against a truly malevolent force? Accounts from historical sources and modern occultists who claim to have worked with Raum paint a mixed picture, ranging from tales of successful divination to cautionary stories of unforeseen consequences. Some report receiving accurate predictions of future events, allowing them to avoid disasters or seize opportunities. Others claim to have used Raum's destructive abilities to eliminate enemies or acquire wealth, only to find that their actions led to unforeseen problems and karmic repercussions. One modern occultist recounts how, after summoning Raum to destroy a business rival, he achieved his goal but suffered a series of personal tragedies, losing his family, his health, and his peace of mind. Was this a coincidence, or a direct result of tampering with forces beyond human comprehension? The symbolic meaning of Raum's attributes and powers is rich with potential interpretations, connecting them to the cyclical nature of destruction and rebirth. His ability to steal possessions can be seen as representing the stripping away of material attachments, forcing individuals to confront their true selves and reevaluate their priorities. His power to destroy cities symbolizes the collapse of old structures and the potential for new growth, reminding us that destruction is often a necessary precursor to creation. His crow form, a carrion bird associated with death and decay, represents the inevitable transformation that awaits all living things, urging us to embrace change and let go of the past. What is it about endings that fascinates us, and do the promises of Raum allow us to create new beginnings? However, here is what is often missed. Raum's influence may not be limited to the realm of magic and the occult. Some historians have theorized a link between Raum and certain historical events marked by widespread destruction and chaos, such as the Black Death or the Great Fire of London. While direct evidence is lacking, the timing of these events and the reports of unusual avian activity preceding them have led some to speculate that Raum may have played a role in triggering these catastrophes. Is this merely a coincidence, or does it suggest that Raum's destructive energies can manifest on a global scale, shaping the course of human history? This leads us to the next demon in the Goetic hierarchy, Focalor, who is associated with drowning men and overturning ships. Focalor's watery domain provides another lens through which to view the chaotic powers of the Goetia. How does Focalor's association with the destructive power of water compare to Raum's powers over earthly possessions and structures? And what does this suggest about the different ways in which demonic entities can influence the natural world and human affairs? However, not everyone views Raum as a complex figure embodying the duality of destruction and renewal. Some consider him a purely malevolent entity, a force of unbridled chaos who revels in suffering and delights in the downfall of others. Religious teachings often condemn any interaction with demonic forces, warning against the dangers of consorting with beings whose sole purpose is to corrupt and destroy. Are these warnings simply the product of fear and ignorance, or do they reflect a genuine understanding of the dark side of human nature and the potential for evil to manifest in the world? It is also important to acknowledge that the interpretation of Raum as a prophetic figure may be a later addition to the Goetic tradition, influenced by the association of crows with divination in various cultures. Some scholars suggest that this element was incorporated to make Raum more appealing to those seeking knowledge of the future, blurring the lines between destructive and benevolent forces. Does the addition of prophecy represent a genuine aspect of Raum's nature, or is it a strategic marketing ploy designed to attract a wider following? Despite these counterarguments, Raum remains a compelling and enigmatic figure within occult traditions, embodying the complex and often contradictory forces of destruction, prophecy, and transformation. He serves as a reminder that even in the darkest corners of the infernal realm, the potential for change and renewal may exist. His story urges us to confront our own destructive impulses, to embrace the inevitability of change, and to seek wisdom in the face of chaos. So, as you reflect on the multifaceted nature of Raum, consider this. If the future is predetermined, can we truly change our fate, or are we merely puppets of destiny? Is Raum a force that reveals a set path or creates one? And what responsibility do we bear when wielding the power of prophecy, knowing that our actions may have unforeseen and devastating consequences? Is Raum a guide to what we must do, or a demon that ensures what will be done? While Raum offered glimpses into the future through chaos and destruction, we now turn to Furkas, a knight of hell, but one offering something radically different, the power of understanding. Is Furkas a benevolent guide offering enlightenment, or a subtle manipulator using knowledge as a weapon? Unlike Raum's destructive prophecies or Marchosius's martial valor, Furkas represents the power of intellect, the ability to dissect the world and reshape it through understanding. Raum might show you what will happen, but Furkas teaches how to understand why, hinting at a more subtle and insidious form of power than any demon we've encountered thus far. The whispers of Raum become the lectures of Furkas. This knight's ability to make one invisible and witty sets a tone of intellectual dominance, but what does this say of those he teaches, and what might such dominance cost? To begin unraveling the enigma of Furkas, we must delve into the potential origins of his name, a task fraught with uncertainty and speculation. Unlike some demonic names with clear etymological roots in ancient languages, Furkas presents a more obscure case, shrouded in mystery and open to multiple interpretations. Some scholars suggest a connection to the Latin word furca, meaning fork or pitchfork, potentially symbolizing Furkas' ability to divide, classify, and dissect knowledge, or to brandish the forked tongue of rhetoric. Others propose a link to ancient agricultural deities associated with harvests and abundance, given the pitchfork symbolism. Since he is named as a knight, is it possible the name is Roman in origin? Could Furkas be a corruption of a lesser-known Roman deity associated with knowledge or eloquence, a deity whose worship was demonized and transformed into the figure we now know? Or is the name a purely demonic invention, a carefully constructed label designed to encapsulate his essence as a master of knowledge and manipulation? Furkas appears in various grimoires and occult texts beyond the Ars Goetia, each offering slightly different perspectives on his attributes and abilities, mirroring the varying accounts we've seen with Gop and Pema. While the Ars Goetia primarily focuses on his expertise in the liberal sciences and his ability to make one invisible and witty, other texts expand upon his knowledge of herbalism and medicine, positioning him as a healer as well as a teacher. The Pseudo-Monarchia Daemonum, for example, emphasizes Furka's honesty and reliability, portraying him as a trustworthy source of information, a stark contrast to the deceptive nature often associated with demons. Some accounts even suggest that Furkas can grant the ability to control animals, adding another layer to his multifaceted persona. Do these variations reflect the evolving understanding of Furkas over time, or do they suggest that there are multiple entities masquerading under the same name? As described in the Ars Goetia, Furkas is a knight of hell, a high-ranking demon who appears in the form of a cruel old man with a long beard and a pale horse, a departure from the more monstrous or animalistic forms we've seen with other Goetic demons. His primary attributes include expertise in rhetoric, philosophy, astronomy, logic, and other liberal sciences, making him a master of intellectual pursuits. Unlike some demons who offer raw power or material wealth, Furkas provides the tools for understanding and manipulating the world through knowledge, the power to persuade. The fact that he is cruel, perhaps, reflects the fact that knowledge is a tool with many applications, and thus many cruel applications, and perhaps he does not care how the knowledge he imparts is used. He commands 20 legions of spirits, further solidifying his position of power within the demonic hierarchy, but is he subservient to any other demon, like Gop to Pema? Grimoires and occult texts detail specific rituals for summoning Furkas, often involving offerings of books, writing implements, and other symbols of knowledge, a distinct departure from the more materialistic offerings associated with other demons. The conjurer must create a consecrated space, draw a protective circle, and recite specific incantations invoking Furka's name and titles, similar to other Goetic rituals. One particularly detailed ritual, found in the Book of Abramelin, describes the creation of a special ink made from rare herbs and minerals, used to inscribe Furka's sigil on parchment. The ritual emphasizes the importance of intellectual preparation, advising the conjurer to study diligently and contemplate the questions they wish to ask Furkas, perhaps because his cruel nature demands a sharp mind. How does the ritual reflect his skills, and how does it compare to those of his peers? Accounts from historical sources and modern occultists who claim to have worked with Furkas offer insights into the types of knowledge sought and the skills acquired, as well as potential pitfalls. Some report gaining profound insights into complex philosophical concepts, enabling them to develop persuasive arguments and win intellectual debates. Others claim to have acquired the ability to master foreign languages, decipher ancient texts, and unlock hidden knowledge from forgotten sources. However, some accounts also warn of the dangers of intellectual arrogance and the temptation to use knowledge for manipulation and control. One modern occultist recounts how, after summoning Furkas to gain knowledge of rhetoric, he became so skilled at persuasion that he lost the ability to form genuine connections with others, his words becoming mere tools for manipulation. Is this transformation a risk inherent in seeking Furka's aid, or a consequence of misusing the knowledge he provides? The symbolic meaning of Furka's attributes and powers is rich with potential interpretations, connecting them to the pursuit of knowledge, the importance of critical thinking, and the ethical responsibilities that come with understanding. His appearance as a cruel old man can be seen as representing the demanding nature of true learning, the challenges of intellectual pursuit, and the potential for knowledge to be used for harmful purposes. His pale horse symbolizes the pursuit of intellectual understanding, but its pallor, its sickly nature, hints at a different association, that the pursuit of pure knowledge can be a dangerous and isolating path, one that may lead to detachment from the physical world and a loss of empathy. This starkly contrasts with previous demons and their symbolism and notes the lack of animalistic traits, implying a focus on humanity alone. Is there a deeper significance to his choice of steed, or does it simply reflect the somber nature of true knowledge? This leads us to the next demon, Balaam, who also appears as a man riding atop a beast, but instead of a pale horse, Balaam rides a mighty bear, holding a hawk upon his wrist. How does Balaam's association with both bestial strength and sharp vision compare to Furka's more intellectual domains? And what does this contrast suggest about the different paths to power and understanding that the Goetic demons represent? What is to be gained by the seeming synthesis of animalistic strength and human intellect? However, not everyone views Furka's as a complex figure embodying both the potential for enlightenment and manipulation. Some consider him a purely malevolent entity, a demon who delights in misleading and corrupting those who seek his knowledge. Religious teachings often warn against the dangers of seeking knowledge from demonic sources, arguing that such knowledge is ultimately tainted and leads to spiritual ruin. Are these warnings simply the product of fear and superstition, or do they reflect a genuine understanding of the corrupting influence of demonic forces? Does the promise of knowledge outweigh the risk of spiritual compromise? It is also important to consider the possibility that Furka's knowledge is limited in scope, that he can only impart certain types of information or skills, potentially those that align with his own demonic nature. Some scholars suggest that Furka's expertise in rhetoric and logic may be used to justify harmful actions or to manipulate others into serving his own purposes. Is it possible that Furka's knowledge is inherently biased, presenting a distorted view of reality that ultimately leads to darkness and destruction? Can true, unbiased knowledge even exist, or is all understanding filtered through a lens of personal bias and perspective? Despite these counterarguments, Furka's remains a compelling and enigmatic figure within occult traditions, embodying the complexities of knowledge, power, and ethical responsibility. He serves as a reminder that the pursuit of understanding is not without its dangers, and that true wisdom requires not only intellectual prowess, but also a strong moral compass. His story urges us to approach knowledge with humility, to be wary of intellectual arrogance, and to use our understanding for the betterment of humanity, and reminds us that, perhaps, we shouldn't take candy from strangers, especially if they ride a pale horse and have a cruel disposition. So as you reflect on the multifaceted nature of Furka's, consider this: is knowledge inherently good, or does its value depend on how it is used? Does the pursuit of pure knowledge justify dealing with entities like Furka's, regardless of the potential risks? And what responsibility do we bear for the knowledge we acquire, and the ways in which we use it to shape the world around us? How does one even begin to measure that responsibility? While Furka's offered the power of understanding, born of intellect, his sphere was more academic than practical, and where Raum offered glimpses into the future through chaos and destruction, Halfas, in contrast, is a great Earl of Hell, a builder of towers, an armorer, and a sender of warriors to battle, a dark reflection of human ambition. Is Halfas merely a demonic contractor, fulfilling the destructive whims of others, or is there a deeper, more strategic purpose behind his martial endeavors? Unlike Furka's theoretical knowledge and Raum's destructive chaos, Halfas represents the practical application of power, the ability to shape the physical world and command armies, hinting at a more direct and tangible form of influence. Halfas's ability to build towers and fortresses, equip warriors, and bring them to appointed places of battle sets a tone of strategic power and martial expertise. But could this also be interpreted as an exercise in controlling the very landscape of conflict? To begin unraveling the complexities of Halfas, we must delve into the possible etymological origins of his name, a task complicated by the variations in spelling and pronunciation found across different grimoires. While a definitive origin remains elusive, some scholars suggest potential connections to ancient Semitic languages, where root words implying exchange, alteration, or substitution can be found, and perhaps these roots reflect Halfaz's ability to transform raw materials into fortified structures and instruments of war. Others propose a link to names with similar sounds, such as Alpheus, a Greek river god, or Halios, the Greek word for of the sea, raising intriguing questions about potential connections to elemental forces and the fluidity of creation and destruction. Is it possible that the name Halfaz is a composite, drawing from multiple linguistic sources to encapsulate his multifaceted nature as both a builder and a warrior? Could it even be a deliberately constructed name, designed to resonate with specific magical frequencies or symbolic associations? Halfaz appears in various grimoires and occult texts beyond the Ars Goetia, each offering subtle variations in his description, attributed powers, and associated rituals, further complicating our understanding of this enigmatic demon. While the Ars Goetia focuses on his abilities as a builder and war master, other texts emphasize his knowledge of secret weapons and siege warfare, portraying him as a master strategist capable of devising ingenious methods for overcoming fortifications, hinting at a dark partnership with Furkas. Some accounts even suggest that Halfaz can inspire courage and discipline in soldiers, transforming them into unwavering instruments of war, yet this skill is absent from other accounts. How do these variations reflect the evolving perceptions of Halfaz over time, and do they reveal a deeper, more nuanced understanding of his role in the demonic hierarchy? Does his entry in other grimoires more closely align with Furkas' entries, given their shared domains of knowledge? As described in the Ars Goetia, Halfaz is a great Earl of Hell who appears in the form of a stock dove, a seemingly incongruous form for a demon associated with building and warfare. His attributes and powers include expertise in building towers and fortresses, equipping warriors with weapons, and sending them to appointed places of battle, underscoring his strategic and logistical capabilities, but also his position in the demonic court. Halfaz commands 26 legions of spirits, further solidifying his position of authority within the demonic hierarchy, giving him the power to mobilize vast armies and construct formidable defenses. But is there a price to pay for such command? He imparts specific skills and abilities related to architecture, engineering, and military tactics, enabling conjurers to design impenetrable fortifications, craft devastating weapons, and lead armies to victory. But are there limitations to these powers, and what could they imply? Grimoires and occult texts detail specific rituals for summoning Halfaz, often involving offerings of architectural blueprints, miniature fortifications, or weapons crafted from precious metals, contrasting them with the written offerings from the rituals for Furkas. The conjurer must create a consecrated space, draw a protective circle, and recite specific incantations invoking Halfaz's name and titles, calling upon his authority as a great Earl of Hell, akin to other Goetic rituals. One particularly intriguing ritual, found in the Grand Grimoire, describes the creation of a special amulet inscribed with Halfaz's sigil, said to grant the wearer invincibility in battle and the ability to command legions of spirits, but only for a limited time, perhaps reflecting the volatility of demonic pacts. Do these rituals incorporate specific building materials or martial items, and how do they compare to previous rituals? Accounts from historical sources and modern occultists who claim to have worked with Halfaz offer glimpses into the types of projects undertaken, the specific skills acquired, and the reported outcomes, though these accounts are often shrouded in secrecy and conflicting details. Some report gaining the ability to design and construct impregnable fortresses, capable of withstanding the most formidable sieges, allowing them to protect their homes, communities, or even entire nations from invasion. Others claim to have acquired the knowledge to craft weapons of unparalleled power, capable of decimating entire armies with a single blow, though they also admit to struggling with the ethical implications of wielding such destructive force. However, some accounts also warn of the unintended consequences of invoking Halfaz's power, noting instances of escalating conflicts, unforeseen structural failures, and the corruption of military ideals, hinting at the dangers of unchecked ambition and the seductive allure of martial prowess. What types of architectural designs, military strategies, or weapon enchantments are attributed to Halfaz's influence, and what are the ethical implications of using this knowledge? The symbolic meaning of Halfaz's attributes and powers is multifaceted, connecting them to themes of creation, destruction, strategy, and defense, all reflecting the inherent duality of human ambition. His ability to build towers and fortresses can be interpreted as symbolizing the human drive to create order out of chaos, to establish safe havens in a dangerous world, and to leave a lasting legacy for future generations. However, his association with warfare and weaponry also highlights the destructive potential of human ingenuity, the tendency to use knowledge and skill for conquest, domination, and the perpetuation of conflict. Halfaz's dove form, in contrast to his warlike associations, may symbolize guidance, communication, or even a messenger of war, perhaps suggesting that even in the midst of conflict, there is a need for strategy, diplomacy, and the careful dissemination of information, a point on which he may differ from Raum. What psychological interpretations can be drawn from Halfaz as an archetype, representing the inner architect, the drive to create and protect, and the need to balance constructive and destructive impulses? This understanding leads us to the next demon, Malphaz, another demon whose name bears a resemblance to Halfaz, yet one who is known for building houses and high towers, undermining the enemy's plans, fetching good familiars, and bringing quickly skilled workmen from all places of the world. But what does this subtle shift in focus from fortifications and armaments to more domestic construction imply? How does Malphaz's promise of skilled workmen compare to Halfaz's expertise in equipping warriors, and what might this difference reveal about their respective roles in the demonic hierarchy? And furthermore, how do these two demons contrast with the more chaotic or destructive forces we have previously explored? However, not everyone views Halfaz as a complex figure embodying both creative and destructive potential. Some consider him a purely warlike entity, a demon who delights in violence, conflict, and the destruction of civilizations, citing cautionary tales and religious warnings, and his dove form might simply be a cruel deception, a false symbol of peace, masking his true intentions. Religious teachings often condemn the pursuit of military power and the glorification of warfare, arguing that such pursuits are inherently evil and lead to spiritual damnation. Is Halfaz's association with building simply a means to an end, a way to create more efficient instruments of war and more defensible positions from which to launch attacks? And are these warnings simply the product of pacifistic ideals, or do they reflect a deeper understanding of the corrupting influence of demonic forces? Despite these arguments, the multifaceted nature of Halfaz is undeniable. His story is not simply about destruction, but about the strategic application of power, and the creative impulse, even when used for martial purposes, is still an expression of human ingenuity. In the end, what does Halfaz's enduring presence in occult traditions tell us about humanity's own relationship with violence, and our ongoing struggle to reconcile our creative and destructive tendencies? We can see that the Goetic demons are not simply evil entities, but complex archetypes with diverse origins, powers, and purposes, and that Halfaz represents the potential for both creation and destruction, the ethical responsibility that comes with power, and the need to balance constructive and destructive impulses. Halfas reflects humanity's ongoing quest for knowledge, power, and self-understanding, all while emphasizing the need for ethical responsibility, strategic thinking, and a balanced approach to creation and destruction. So, as you reflect on the strategic power of Halfas, consider this: are builders and armorer ultimately responsible for how their creations are used? Does Halfas consider the ethics of his craft? And does the pursuit of security justify the use of potentially destructive means? Where Halfas focuses on the construction of fortifications and the equipping of warriors, Malfas, though also described as a builder, presents a more nuanced and perhaps more treacherous set of skills. Can this mighty president of hell, who can swiftly erect structures and high towers, also be trusted, or does his ability to bring forth desired things, reveal the secrets of enemies, and deceive them with false information, hint at a darker agenda? Is Malfas a master strategist, using deception as a tool for achieving his goals, or is he a manipulator, twisting the truth to serve his own selfish desires? Malfas's ability to build structures, bring forth desired things, reveal the secrets of enemies, and deceive them with false information sets a tone of complex strategy and subtle manipulation. But what happens when the lines between truth and falsehood become blurred, and the conjurer becomes a pawn in Malfas's game? To understand the multifaceted nature of Malfas, we must explore the possible etymological origins of his name, a task that presents considerable challenges due to the variations in spelling and pronunciation across different grimoires and occult texts. Some scholars suggest a connection to the Hebrew word malpas, meaning reject or refuse, potentially reflecting his role as an outcast or rebel within the demonic hierarchy, or perhaps hinting at his ability to reject truth and embrace deception. Others propose a link to the Latin word maleficus, meaning evildoer or sorcerer, further reinforcing the association with malevolence and trickery. But is there more nuance to his role than simple evil-doing? Could it be that his name is derived from multiple sources, blending different linguistic roots to create a complex tapestry of meaning that reflects his multifaceted nature? The truth may be obscured, but we can see there is clearly more at play than meets the eye. Beyond the Ars Goetia, Malfas appears in various grimoires and occult texts, each offering subtle variations in his description, attributed powers, and associated rituals, adding layers of complexity to our understanding of this enigmatic demon. While the Ars Goetia focuses on his abilities as a builder, bringer of desired things, revealer of secrets, and deceiver, other texts emphasize his skill in manipulating the thoughts and emotions of others, portraying him as a master of psychological warfare, hinting at a connection to Raum. Some accounts even suggest that Malfas can grant the conjurer the ability to shapeshift or become invisible, further enhancing their capacity for deception and manipulation. But are these additional powers simply embellishments, or do they reflect a deeper, more comprehensive understanding of his capabilities? What do these variations reveal about the evolving perception of Malfas over time, and how do they align with his relationships with Furkas, Raum, Marchoses, Gop, Asmodeus, Pema, Baal, and Halfas? As described in the Ars Goetia, Malfas is a mighty president of hell who typically appears in the form of a crow or raven, or as a man with a hoarse voice, each form laden with symbolic significance. His attributes and powers include expertise in building structures, bringing forth desired things, revealing secrets, and deceiving enemies, showcasing a complex and versatile skill set. Malfas commands 40 legions of spirits, further solidifying his position of authority within the demonic hierarchy, granting him the power to influence vast networks of individuals and organizations, making him a powerful ally or a dangerous enemy. He imparts specific skills and abilities related to architecture, intelligence gathering, and psychological manipulation, enabling conjurers to construct elaborate schemes, uncover hidden information, and control the thoughts and emotions of others. But are there limitations to these powers, and what is the price of wielding such influence? Grimoires and occult texts detail specific rituals for summoning Malfas, often involving offerings of architectural blueprints, secret documents, or objects imbued with deception, each designed to resonate with his specific attributes and powers. The conjurer must create a consecrated space, draw a protective circle, and recite specific incantations invoking Malfaz's name and titles, calling upon his authority as a mighty president of hell, similar to the invocations for other Goetic demons. One particularly intriguing ritual, found in the Book of Oberon, describes the creation of a special talisman inscribed with Malfaz's sigil, said to grant the wearer the ability to manipulate the thoughts and emotions of others, but only if they are willing to sacrifice their own sense of integrity and honesty, raising profound ethical questions. How do these rituals compare to previous rituals, and what do they reveal about the relationship between the conjurer and the demon? Accounts from historical sources and modern occultists who claim to have worked with Malfaz offer glimpses into the types of projects undertaken, the specific skills acquired, and the reported outcomes, though these accounts are often shrouded in secrecy and conflicting details. Some report gaining the ability to construct elaborate schemes that manipulate entire populations, leading to significant political or economic gains, allowing them to reshape the world according to their will, but at what cost? Others claim to have acquired the knowledge to uncover hidden conspiracies and expose the secrets of their enemies, granting them a significant advantage in their personal or professional lives, but also making them targets for retaliation. However, some accounts also warn of the unintended consequences of invoking Malfaz's power, noting instances of escalating conflicts, unforeseen betrayals, and the erosion of trust, hinting at the dangers of unchecked ambition and the seductive allure of deception. What architectural designs, intelligence operations, or psychological manipulations are attributed to Malfaz's influence, and what are the ethical implications of using this knowledge? The symbolic meaning of Malfaz's attributes and powers is multifaceted, connecting them to themes of strategy, deception, knowledge, and the duality of good and evil, mirroring the complexities of human nature. His ability to build structures can be interpreted as symbolizing the human drive to create order out of chaos, to establish systems of control, and to leave a lasting legacy for future generations. However, his association with deception and manipulation also highlights the dark side of human ingenuity, the tendency to use knowledge and skill for selfish purposes, manipulation, and the erosion of trust. Malfaz's crow-raven form may symbolize intelligence gathering, hidden knowledge, or the ability to see through deception, suggesting that even in the midst of chaos, there is a need for strategy, cunning, and the careful dissemination of information, making his form more than practical. What psychological interpretations can be drawn from Malfaz as an archetype, representing the inner strategist, the shadow self, the need to understand one's enemies, and the potential for deception to be used for both positive and negative purposes? Does his ability to both build and deceive represent a larger truth about power? This exploration of Malfaz leads us to the next figure in our demonic compendium, one that must, by necessity, act as a near opposite, for how can deception be understood without also understanding truth? While Malfaz offers the ability to deceive and manipulate, what about those who value honesty, integrity, and justice, and can these virtues be weaponized against the forces of darkness? As we shift our focus to the forces aligned against deception, consider how the pursuit of truth can be both a shield and a sword, and what happens when the lines between these opposing forces become blurred. Yet, not everyone views Malfaz as a complex figure embodying both creative and destructive potential. Some consider him a purely malevolent entity, a demon who delights in manipulation, deception, and the erosion of trust, citing cautionary tales and religious warnings about the dangers of consorting with such a being, and his crow-raven form might simply be a symbol of death and decay, a harbinger of misfortune and despair. Religious teachings often condemn lying, cheating, and manipulating others, arguing that such actions are inherently evil and lead to spiritual damnation. Is Malthus's association with building simply a means to an end, a way to create more elaborate deceptions and more effective traps for his victims? And are these warnings simply the product of moralistic ideals, or do they reflect a deeper understanding of the corrupting influence of demonic forces? Despite these arguments, the multifaceted nature of Malthus is undeniable. His story is not simply about deception, but about the strategic application of knowledge, and the creative impulse, even when used for manipulative purposes, is still an expression of human ingenuity. In the end, what does Malthus's enduring presence in occult traditions tell us about humanity's own relationship with truth and deception, and our ongoing struggle to reconcile our creative and destructive tendencies? We can see that the Goetic demons are not simply evil entities, but complex archetypes with diverse origins, powers, and purposes, and that Malthus represents the potential for both creation and deception, the ethical responsibility that comes with knowledge, and the need to balance honesty and cunning. Malthus reflects humanity's ongoing quest for knowledge, power, and self-understanding, all while emphasizing the need for ethical responsibility, strategic thinking, and a balanced approach to truth and deception. So, as you reflect on the strategic deception of Malthus, consider this: is deception ever justified, and does the end ever justify the means when dealing with entities like Malthus? Are there situations where lying or manipulation is morally defensible, and what are the potential consequences of embracing such a philosophy? And does the pursuit of knowledge always require a willingness to compromise one's integrity? Where Malthus strategically constructs deception and unveils secrets, we now turn to Vælfar, a Duke of Hell whose patronage extends to thieves, yet surprisingly, also includes the ability to heal those they have wronged, an unexpected dichotomy that challenges our understanding of demonic morality. Is Vælfar merely a paradoxical figure, or does his dual nature point to a more disturbing truth about justice and karmic debt, suggesting a twisted sense of balance where wrongdoing can somehow lead to restoration? Does Vælfar truly heal, or does he simply rearrange the scales, shifting the burden of suffering from one party to another in a cosmic game of quid pro quo? To understand this paradoxical morality, we must explore the possible etymological origins of the name Vælfar, a task that unveils potential connections to ancient languages, mythologies, or historical figures associated with both healing and thievery. While the exact origins remain shrouded in mystery, some scholars speculate a link to ancient words signifying strength or valor, potentially reflecting the boldness and cunning often attributed to thieves. But could this also be twisted to reflect the strength it takes to right a wrong? Others suggest a connection to deities associated with healing and restoration from various cultures, exploring potential links to Hermes, the Greek god of thieves and commerce, who is also revered as a messenger and healer, blurring the lines between transgression and benevolence. Perhaps Vælfar's name carries the echoes of forgotten deities who presided over both the taking and the giving back, reflecting a more nuanced understanding of justice than modern morality allows, revealing a continuity of belief across different eras. Beyond the Ars Goetia, Vælfar's appearances in various grimoires and occult texts, though not as frequent as some of his counterparts, offer subtle variations in his description, attributed powers, and associated rituals, each adding layers of complexity to our understanding of this enigmatic demon. While the Ars Goetia focuses on his expertise in inciting theft and healing, other texts emphasize his role as a guardian of hidden treasures, or as a protector of those who have been unjustly wronged, painting a picture of a demon who intervenes in matters of fairness, however twisted. Some accounts even suggest that Völfar possesses the ability to manipulate luck, either to favor thieves or to bring misfortune upon those who exploit others, implying a more active role in shaping destinies. But are these additional powers simply embellishments, or do they reflect a deeper understanding of his capabilities and his role in the cosmic balance? What do these variations reveal about the evolving perception of Völfar over time? As described in the Ars Goetia, Völfar is a Duke of Hell, but his typical depiction, unlike some of his more vividly portrayed counterparts, remains somewhat ambiguous, though some accounts suggest a leonine form or a more human-like appearance with bestial features, each hinting at specific aspects of his nature. His attributes and powers include expertise in inciting theft and healing those affected by it, but the seeming contradiction is key. Does he heal those he incites to steal, offering them a twisted form of absolution, or does he heal the victims of theft, restoring what was lost and potentially exacting vengeance on the perpetrators? Völfar commands 10 legions of spirits, a smaller contingent than some of the other Goetic demons, but a force nonetheless capable of influencing events on a significant scale, and he imparts specific skills and abilities related to stealth, deception, and the manipulation of resources, enabling conjurers to navigate the shadows, acquire valuable assets, and potentially restore balance to situations of injustice. But are there limits to these powers, and what is the true cost of wielding such influence? Grimoires and occult texts detail specific rituals for summoning Völfar, often involving offerings of stolen goods or symbols of wealth, alongside petitions for either successful thievery or miraculous healing, each designed to resonate with his specific attributes and powers. The conjurer must create a consecrated space, draw a protective circle, and recite specific incantations invoking Völfar's name and titles, calling upon his authority as a Duke of Hell. One particularly intriguing ritual involves the creation of a restitution pact, where the conjurer promises to return stolen goods or offer compensation to the victims of theft in exchange for Völfar's assistance in healing or restoring what was lost. But does this pact truly appease Völfar, or does it simply create a new form of karmic debt, further complicating the already tangled web of transgression and redemption? How do these rituals compare to those of Malphas, and what do they reveal about the subtle differences in intent and expected outcomes? Accounts from historical sources and modern occultists who claim to have worked with Völfar offer glimpses into the types of projects undertaken, the specific skills acquired, and the reported outcomes, though these accounts are often contradictory and difficult to verify. Some report gaining the ability to identify vulnerable targets, bypass security measures, and acquire valuable resources, enabling them to amass considerable wealth through illicit means, seemingly without consequence. Others claim to have received assistance in healing illnesses, mending broken relationships, or restoring lost fortunes, attributing these miracles to Völfar's intervention, but often with a lingering sense of unease or a feeling that something else has been taken in return. However, some accounts also warn of the unintended consequences of invoking Völfar's power, noting instances of escalating conflicts, unforeseen betrayals, and the erosion of trust, particularly if the conjurer attempts to manipulate his powers for purely selfish gain, hinting at the dangers of unchecked ambition and the illusion of consequence-free actions. What stolen items or restored health are specifically attributed to Völfar's influence, and what are the potential applications of this knowledge? The symbolic meaning of Völfar's attributes and powers is complex, connecting them to themes of justice, balance, karmic debt, and the blurred lines between right and wrong. His association with theft can be interpreted as symbolizing the human desire for acquisition, the temptation to take what is not rightfully ours, and the darker aspects of ambition and greed. But his ability to heal can also be seen as a representation of the power of redemption, the capacity for restoration, and the possibility of finding balance even in the midst of transgression. Völfar's dual role may also represent the shadow self's capacity for both destruction and healing, the idea that sometimes wrongs must be righted through unconventional means, or that true justice requires a willingness to confront the darker aspects of human nature. Does he act as a dark reflection of societal justice systems, highlighting their flaws and limitations, or does he offer a path to a higher, more nuanced understanding of fairness? This duality of Völfar leads us to question the very nature of justice and to ask ourselves if the ends ever justify the means, even when dealing with demonic forces. While Völfar offers the potential for restoration and balance, can true healing ever come from immoral means, and does his healing actually create new problems or simply shift the burden of suffering? Can something truly good come from something evil, or is Völfar's intervention merely a form of manipulation, a temporary reprieve from a greater suffering, and seeking his aid only perpetuates a cycle of crime and retribution, ensuring a future of never-ending debt? Yet, not everyone views Völfar as a complex figure embodying both destructive and restorative potential. Some consider him a dangerous entity whose healing is merely a form of manipulation, a temporary reprieve from a greater suffering, or a means of luring unsuspecting victims into a deeper pact with darkness. Cautionary tales and religious warnings often depict demons as deceivers who offer false promises of power and healing, only to ensnare their victims in a web of eternal damnation, exploiting their weaknesses and twisting their desires to serve their own sinister purposes. Is Völfar's association with healing simply a means to an end, a way to gain the trust and dependence of those who seek his aid, or does it reflect a genuine desire to restore balance and alleviate suffering, albeit through unconventional and morally ambiguous means? Are these warnings simply the product of fear and religious dogma, or do they reflect a deeper understanding of the corrupting influence of demonic forces and the dangers of seeking power without responsibility? Despite these arguments, the multifaceted nature of Völfar is undeniable, highlighting the complexities of justice and the challenges of balancing the scales when dealing with forces beyond human comprehension. In the end, what does Völfar's enduring presence in occult traditions tell us about humanity's own relationship with transgression and redemption, and our ongoing struggle to reconcile our darker impulses with our desire for healing and restoration? The Goetic demons are not simply evil entities, but complex archetypes with diverse origins, powers, and purposes, and Völfar represents the potential for both restoration and further transgression, the ethical dilemmas of vigilante justice, and the need for careful consideration of one's motives and methods. Völfar reflects humanity's ongoing quest for justice, power, and self-understanding, all while emphasizing the need for ethical responsibility, critical thinking, and a balanced approach to both action and consequence. So as you reflect on the morally ambiguous nature of Völfar, consider this. Can something good ever truly come from something evil, or is Völfar's healing merely a twisted form of manipulation, a temporary reprieve from a greater suffering? Does he represent true justice, or a twisted version of it, and does his healing actually create new problems? And are we willing to embrace morally ambiguous solutions in the pursuit of justice, or are there certain lines we should never cross, even when dealing with demonic forces? If Völfar embodies the twisted crossroads of theft and healing, then Eligos, a great Duke of Hell, unveils an entirely different landscape of hidden agendas and strategic warfare, wielding not brute force, but the subtle power to foresee conflicts, influence the favor of lords and soldiers, and incite love and passion. Unlike Völfar's focus on individual transgressions and restorations, Eligos operates on a grander scale, manipulating the very tides of battle and the allegiances of nations, But is this strategic insight a path to guaranteed victory, or a treacherous descent into moral compromise, where the ends always justify the means? Does Eligos offer genuine foresight, or merely the manipulation of probabilities, orchestrating events to fulfill his own designs, regardless of the cost? To comprehend the scope of Eligos' influence, we must explore the potential etymological origins of his name, a pursuit that leads us into a labyrinth of ancient languages, mythologies, and historical figures associated with leadership, strategy, and prophecy. While definitive origins remain elusive, some scholars propose a connection to ancient Semitic roots implying swiftness or agility, mirroring his capacity to anticipate and adapt to the ever-shifting dynamics of warfare, hinting that his knowledge is far more actionable than other demons. Others speculate a link to figures like Helios, the Greek god of the sun, suggesting that Eligos' prophetic abilities stem from a piercing insight that illuminates hidden paths and unveils veiled futures. But is this insight divine in origin, or derived from a cold, calculating understanding of human nature and political machinations? Could the name itself be a corruption of a forgotten title bestowed upon a warrior seer, a figure whose strategic genius shaped the course of empires, and whose legacy echoes through the annals of demonology? Beyond the Ars Goetia, Eligos appears in various other grimoires and occult texts, each offering subtle nuances to his description, attributed powers, and associated rituals. And while his core abilities remain consistent, revealing hidden things, foreseeing wars, influencing favor, and inciting love, the emphasis shifts across different accounts. Some texts amplify his capacity to sow discord and incite betrayals, highlighting his role as a master manipulator who exploits vulnerabilities and orchestrates conflicts from behind the scenes. But is Eligos merely a harbinger of chaos? Or does he offer a calculated advantage to those who dare to seek his counsel, albeit at a potentially devastating cost? Certain traditions emphasize his role as a guardian of military secrets, suggesting that he possesses knowledge of forgotten weapons, strategic formations, or hidden supply routes that can turn the tide of battle. But is this knowledge freely given, or does it come with a price that transcends mere material offerings? According to the Ars Goetia, Eligos manifests as a handsome knight, bearing a lance, an ensign, and a serpent, each attribute imbued with symbolic significance. And this knightly guise speaks to his strategic prowess, disciplined action, and the ability to navigate the treacherous terrains of social and political landscapes. The lance signifies his readiness for battle, his capacity to strike with precision and pierce through enemy defenses, while the ensign represents his authority and command over legions of spirits, a symbol of his power to rally forces and inspire unwavering loyalty. But is this loyalty freely given, or is it born of fear, manipulation, or the promise of ultimate victory? The serpent, a recurring motif in occult symbolism, embodies cunning, temptation, and hidden knowledge, suggesting that Eligos' power lies not only in his martial abilities, but also in his capacity to deceive, to unearth secret intelligence, and to exploit the weaknesses of his adversaries, revealing a capacity for subtle control. But does this imagery point to a deep connection to pre-Christian archetypes? Delving into grimoires and occult texts unveils rituals for summoning Eligos that demand meticulous preparation, specific incantations, and carefully chosen offerings designed to resonate with his unique attributes and powers. And these rituals often involve the creation of a consecrated space, the drawing of a protective circle, and the recitation of potent incantations invoking Eligos' name and titles, asserting the conjurer's will and compelling his presence. But does the efficacy of these rituals stem from the intrinsic power of the words and symbols themselves, or from the conjurer's unwavering belief and focused intention, amplifying the desired outcome? Offerings typically include military artifacts, symbols of leadership, or tokens of affection, each designed to appease Eligos and secure his favor, while petitions range from requests for strategic insight and political advantage to the incitement of love and passion, reflecting the multifaceted nature of his influence. But can Eligos be truly controlled? Or does he always operate according to his own inscrutable agenda, using the conjurer as a mere pawn in a grander, more complex game? How does one protect themselves? Accounts from historical sources and modern occultists who profess to have worked with Eligos offer glimpses into the specific requests made, the strategic advantages gained, and the often unsettling outcomes experienced. But these accounts are inevitably shrouded in secrecy and subjectivity, making it difficult to discern verifiable truth from embellished claims or outright fabrications. Some recount tales of military leaders who secured decisive victories by heeding Eligos' strategic counsel, anticipating enemy movements, exploiting vulnerabilities, and orchestrating devastating ambushes, attributing their success not to their own ingenuity but to the demon's uncanny foresight. But did these victories come at a hidden cost, a sacrifice of innocent lives, a betrayal of trust, or a forfeiture of moral integrity? Others whisper of political figures who ascended to power by manipulating alliances, inciting rivalries, and exploiting the passions of the populace, swayed by Eligos' subtle influence, weaving webs of intrigue and consolidating their authority through deception and coercion. But did these machinations ultimately serve the greater good, or did they merely perpetuate cycles of corruption, oppression, and unending conflict? The symbolic meaning of Eligos' attributes and powers is deeply intertwined with themes of strategy, knowledge, manipulation, and the hidden dynamics of power, contrasting sharply with the themes associated with previous demons. And his expertise in revealing hidden things speaks to the human desire for knowledge, the quest to uncover secrets and anticipate future events. While his capacity to influence favor and incite passion highlights the seductive allure of manipulation, the ability to control the actions and emotions of others. But does this power come without a cost? Eligos' nightly appearance can be interpreted as a symbol of strategic prowess, disciplined action, and the ability to navigate the complexities of social and political landscapes. But it also represents the potential for warfare to be waged not only on the battlefield, but also in the subtle realms of the mind, where ideas, emotions, and allegiances are the weapons of choice, foreshadowing dangers. But is he a personification of mankind's inner conflict? As we turn our gaze toward the next demon, let us seek one whose dominion touches upon the realms of strategy, power, or influence, maintaining the thematic thread while introducing a contrasting element, perhaps one associated with justice, fairness, or diplomacy, providing a counterpoint to Eligos' manipulative tendencies, hinting that these attributes are not mutually exclusive, and that a well-rounded leader must possess both strategic cunning and a strong moral compass. This will allow us to further explore the complex interplay between demonic forces and human affairs, but the path is fraught with peril. However, we must acknowledge the opposing view, the cautionary tales that portray Eligos as a malevolent entity who promotes manipulation, deceit, and the erosion of trust, citing religious warnings about the dire consequences of seeking power through demonic forces, painting a grim picture of spiritual corruption and eternal damnation. And these accounts often depict Eligos as a deceiver who offers fleeting glimpses of strategic advantage, only to ensnare his victims in a web of unforeseen betrayals, escalating conflicts, and moral compromises, leaving them stripped of their integrity, their relationships, and ultimately their very souls. But are these warnings merely superstitious fears? Or do they reflect a profound understanding of the corrupting influence of unchecked ambition and the seductive lure of forbidden knowledge? Does the end truly justify the means, or are there lines that should never be crossed, even in the pursuit of victory? What happens when morality conflicts with victory? Despite these counterarguments, the multifaceted nature of Eligos remains undeniable. A complex tapestry woven from threads of strategic insight, manipulative cunning, and the enduring human quest for knowledge, power, and self-understanding. And while the potential dangers of seeking his influence cannot be ignored, it is equally important to recognize that the Goetic demons are not simply caricatures of evil, but multifaceted archetypes, reflecting the complexities of the human psyche, the ongoing struggle between light and darkness, and the perpetual search for meaning in a world often veiled in shadows. As such, Eligos represents the potential for both strategic brilliance and devastating manipulation, the ethical dilemmas inherent in leadership, and the need for a balanced approach that values honesty, integrity, and ethical communication, alongside the pursuit of knowledge and the attainment of power. Making his continued presence in occult traditions a reflection of humanity's ongoing fascination with the hidden forces that shape our destinies. Does Eligos truly care about the right side of a conflict? If Eligos unveils the subtle power to foresee conflicts and manipulate allegiances on a grand scale, Zephyr, a great Duke of Hell commanding 26 legions, plunges into the volatile and often devastating realm of love and war, wielding the power to incite ardent passion in women and to transform men into monstrous forms of unbridled aggression. Unlike Eligos, whose influence is strategic and often politically motivated, Zephyr directly manipulates the rawest human emotions, blurring the lines between affection and obsession, between desire and destruction. But does this disturbing combination of love and war represent a deeper commentary on human nature, a hidden truth about the seductive and destructive forces that drive human behavior? Is Zephyr a mere instigator of chaos or a dark mirror reflecting the inherent contradictions within the human heart? And what are the costs of surrendering to such potent, untamed passions? To comprehend the scope of Zephyr's dominion, we must explore the possible etymological origins of his name, a pursuit that leads us through a tangled thicket of ancient languages, mythologies, and historical figures associated with love, war, and transformation. While definitive origins remain shrouded in mystery, some scholars speculate a connection to the Hebrew word ziph, meaning crown or diadem, suggesting a link to royalty, authority, and the intoxicating allure of power. But what does this tell us? Does it signify that even love and passion can be tools of dominion, wielded to control and manipulate others? Other researchers propose a link to ancient Semitic roots implying morning star or torch, mirroring his capacity to ignite fervent desire and illuminate the darkest corners of the human heart. But is this illumination a path to genuine connection, or does it merely expose the hidden vulnerabilities that can be exploited in the name of love or war? Could the name itself be a corruption of a forgotten title bestowed upon a warrior king whose reign was marked by both passionate conquests and devastating betrayals? A figure whose legacy echoes through the annals of demonology as a cautionary tale of unchecked ambition and the destructive force of untamed desire. Beyond the Ars Goetia, Zephyr appears in various other grimoires and occult texts, each offering subtle variations to his description, attributed powers, and associated rituals. While his core abilities remain consistent, inciting love in women and transforming men for war, the emphasis shifts across different accounts. But what are the changes? Some texts amplify his capacity to incite not just love, but also lust, jealousy, and vengeful obsession, highlighting his role as a master manipulator who preys on insecurities and fans the flames of destructive passions. But is Zephyr merely a purveyor of carnal desires, or does he offer a twisted path to self-discovery, forcing individuals to confront the darkest aspects of their own hearts? Certain traditions emphasize his role as a shapeshifter, capable of assuming different forms to seduce his targets or terrify his enemies, suggesting that his power lies not only in manipulating emotions, but also in adapting to the ever-shifting dynamics of human relationships and the brutal realities of warfare. But what is the real goal? Does this ability to shapeshift extend to those who invoke him? According to the Ars Goetia, Zepar manifests as a soldier adorned in red apparel, implying a connection with Mars Ares, the god of war. When summoned, Zepar also adopts the form of a handsome man that elicits passionate love. If a duke, his appearance does not align with standard expectations. This duality speaks to his command over both aspects. It is also possible that he only takes the form of a soldier when he is enacting war, but it is up to interpretation. These attributes are imbued with symbolic significance, with this martial guy speaking to his capacity to transform men into instruments of war, to strip away their humanity and instill in them a savage, unyielding hunger for battle. But does this transformation offer a path to glory, or does it merely condemn them to a life of unending violence and spiritual emptiness? His ability to incite love speaks to the seductive allure of passion, the intoxicating promise of connection and fulfillment. But is this love genuine, or is it a fleeting illusion designed to enslave his victims and bend them to his will? Delving into grimoires and occult texts unveils rituals for summoning Zepar that demand meticulous preparation, specific incantations, and carefully chosen offerings designed to resonate with his dual nature and volatile powers. And these rituals often involve the creation of a consecrated space, the drawing of a protective circle, and the recitation of potent incantations invoking Zepar's name and titles, asserting the conjurer's will and compelling his presence. But does the efficacy of these rituals stem from the intrinsic power of the words and symbols themselves, or from the conjurer's unwavering belief and focused intention, amplifying the desired outcome? Offerings typically include symbols of love, such as roses or perfumes, alongside symbols of war, such as weapons or armor, each designed to appease Zepar and secure his favor, while petitions range from requests to incite love in a specific target to requests for strength and ferocity in battle, reflecting the multifaceted nature of his influence. But can Zepar be truly controlled? Or does he always exact a price for his services, demanding a sacrifice of innocence, a betrayal of trust, or a descent into moral depravity? Accounts from historical sources and modern occultists who profess to have worked with Zepar offer glimpses into the specific requests made, the passionate desires unleashed, and the often devastating outcomes experienced. But these accounts are inevitably colored by personal biases and subjective interpretations, making it difficult to discern verifiable truth from embellished claims or outright fabrications. Some recount tales of individuals who successfully ignited the passions of their desired targets, only to find themselves consumed by jealousy, possessiveness, and an unending cycle of emotional turmoil, attributing their suffering not to their own actions, but to Zepar's insidious influence. But did these individuals truly understand the nature of the forces they were wielding? Or did they merely succumb to their own unchecked desires, blaming the demon for the consequences of their own choices? Others whisper of warriors who achieved unparalleled strength and ferocity on the battlefield, transforming themselves into unstoppable engines of destruction, swayed by Zepar's subtle influence, leaving trails of blood and devastation in their wake. But did these victories ultimately bring them glory, or did they merely condemn them to a life of unending violence, haunted by the ghosts of those they had slain? The symbolic meaning of Zepar's attributes and powers is deeply intertwined with themes of love, war, transformation, and the destructive potential of unchecked emotions, contrasting sharply with the themes associated with the strategic calculations of Oligos. And his expertise in inciting love speaks to the human longing for connection, the quest for intimacy and fulfillment, while his capacity to transform men for war highlights the dark side of human nature, the capacity for violence, aggression, and the dehumanization of others. But what is the result? Zepar's dual nature can be interpreted as a symbol of the inherent contradictions within the human heart, the constant struggle between love and hate, between desire and destruction, between the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain. But does this struggle ultimately lead to growth and self-awareness, or does it merely condemn us to a life of unending conflict, both within ourselves and with those around us? Is there a means to balance these forces? As we turn our gaze toward the next demon, let us seek one whose dominion touches upon the realms of peace, diplomacy, or restraint, maintaining the thematic thread while introducing a contrasting element, perhaps one associated with forgiveness, reconciliation, or the healing of emotional wounds, providing a counterpoint to Zepar's volatile and destructive tendencies, hinting that these attributes are not mutually exclusive, and that true strength lies not in the unbridled expression of passion, but in the capacity to master one's emotions and to channel them towards constructive ends. This will allow us to further explore the complex interplay between demonic forces and human affairs, and to consider the possibility of finding balance amidst chaos. But is such a balance truly attainable, or are we doomed to forever oscillate between the extremes of love and war? However, we must acknowledge the opposing view, the cautionary tales that portray Zepar as a malevolent entity who promotes lust, violence, and the degradation of both love and war, citing religious warnings about the dire consequences of seeking power through demonic forces, painting a grim picture of spiritual corruption and eternal damnation. And these accounts often depict Zepar as a tempter who offers fleeting glimpses of passionate fulfillment, only to ensnare his victims in a web of jealousy, obsession, and unending emotional turmoil, leaving them stripped of their dignity, their relationships, and ultimately their very souls. But are these warnings merely superstitious fears? Or do they reflect a profound understanding of the destructive potential of unchecked desire and the seductive lure of forbidden knowledge? Is it possible to harness Zepar's power without succumbing to his influence, or is any attempt to control him ultimately a Faustian bargain that can only lead to ruin? Despite these counterarguments, the multifaceted nature of Zepar remains undeniable, a complex archetype embodying the potential for both passionate love and destructive war, the ethical dilemmas of emotional manipulation, and the need for respect, empathy, and ethical communication. Zepar serves as a stark reminder of the seductive allure of forbidden knowledge and the potential consequences of seeking power through the exploitation of human emotions. Ultimately, his enduring presence in occult traditions mirrors humanity's ongoing fascination with the hidden forces that shape our destinies, and serves as a cautionary tale about the need for ethical responsibility, critical thinking, and a balanced approach to both love and war. Does Zepar's existence reflect a fundamental truth about the human condition, a constant battle between our higher and lower natures, or is he merely a convenient scapegoat for our own destructive impulses? If Zepar plunges into the volatile realm of love and war, Byleth, a mighty king of hell, reigns supreme as a fierce commander, wielding not only the power to inspire love, but also to instill terror, a stark contrast to both Zepar and Eligos, whose influence is more manipulative than directly militaristic. Where Eligos uses information and Zepar uses emotions, Byleth commands legions, but what does it mean to wield both love and fear? Does it represent the ultimate form of control, or a precarious balance destined to collapse under its own weight? To grasp the scope of Byleth's authority, we must delve into the possible etymological origins of his name, a quest leading us through a labyrinth of ancient languages and mythologies, seeking connections to figures associated with command, war, or even love. And some scholars suggest a connection to the Sumerian term, Belit, a title associated with various goddesses, including Ishtar, who embodied both love and war. But does this imply that Byleth's power is rooted in a more ancient feminine source, a hidden truth about the balance of power and the influence of goddesses in patriarchal societies. Other researchers propose a link to Semitic roots signifying lord or master, reflecting his role as a commander of legions and a king of hell. But is this mastery absolute, or is Byleth bound by certain laws or constraints, forces beyond his control that dictate the limits of his dominion? Could his name be a corruption of a forgotten title bestowed upon a warrior king whose reign was marked by both military victories and passionate devotion? A figure whose legacy echoes through the annals of demonology as a symbol of the duality of leadership and the seductive power of command. Beyond the Ars Goetia, Byleth appears in various other grimoires and occult texts, each offering subtle nuances to his description, attributed powers, and associated rituals. And while his core attributes remain consistent: command over legions, the power to inspire love, and the ability to instill terror, the emphasis shifts across different accounts, with some texts amplifying his role as a fearsome warrior, a master of military strategy, while others highlight his capacity to inspire not just love, but also loyalty, obedience, and unwavering devotion. But do these differing interpretations reflect a genuine evolution in the understanding of Byleth, or merely the subjective biases of the authors, projecting their own desires and fears onto a figure of immense power? Certain traditions emphasize his mode of transport, a white horse, a symbol of purity, victory, and spiritual authority, suggesting that Byleth's power is not merely brute force, but also a reflection of divine will, a twisted echo of angelic power. But does this imply that Byleth is a fallen angel, a former servant of God who now commands the forces of darkness? Or a more complex figure whose origins are shrouded in mystery, defying simple categorization? According to the Ars Goetia, Byleth commands 85 legions of spirits and is depicted riding a white horse, a potent symbol of his authority and dominion. But is the white horse a symbol of conquest, a representation of Byleth's ability to trample his enemies underfoot, or a symbol of purity, suggesting that his power is not inherently evil, but rather a force that can be used for both good and ill, depending on the intentions of the wielder? His power to inspire love can be interpreted in various ways, from inciting romantic passion to fostering loyalty and obedience. But does this power extend to all, or only to those who are already predisposed to his influence, those who are susceptible to the seductive allure of power and the promise of earthly rewards? It is said that Byleth must be treated with respect when summoned, or he will deceive the conjurer, a warning that highlights the importance of humility and ethical conduct when dealing with powerful forces. But does this respect stem from fear, a recognition of Byleth's immense power, or from a genuine understanding of his nature? A recognition that even demons are deserving of a certain level of dignity. Delving into grimoires and occult texts reveals rituals for summoning Byleth that demand meticulous preparation, specific incantations, and carefully chosen offerings designed to resonate with his dual nature as both a warrior and a lover. But what is required? These rituals often involve the creation of a consecrated space, the drawing of protective circles, and the recitation of potent incantations invoking Byleth's name and titles, asserting the conjurer's will and compelling his presence. But does the efficacy of these rituals stem from the intrinsic power of the words and symbols themselves, or from the conjurer's unwavering belief and focused intention, amplifying the desired outcome and bending reality to their will? Offerings typically include symbols of military might, such as weapons or armor, alongside symbols of love, such as roses or perfumes, each designed to appease Byleth and secure his favor. But can Byleth be truly controlled? Or does he always demand a price for his services, a sacrifice of innocence, a betrayal of trust, or a descent into moral depravity, a slippery slope that leads to eternal damnation? Accounts from historical sources and modern occultists who profess to have worked with Byleth offer glimpses into the specific requests made, the military victories achieved, the passionate desires unleashed, and the often devastating outcomes experienced. But these accounts are inevitably colored by personal biases and subjective interpretations, making it difficult to discern verifiable truth from embellished claims or outright fabrications. So what is the truth? Some recount tales of military leaders who achieved unparalleled success on the battlefield, attributing their victories to Byleth's influence, only to find themselves consumed by paranoia, tyranny, and the unending pursuit of power, becoming monsters consumed by their own lust for control. But did these leaders truly understand the nature of the forces they were wielding? Or did they merely succumb to their own unchecked ambitions, blaming the demon for the consequences of their own choices? Others whisper of individuals who successfully ignited the passions of their desired targets, only to find themselves trapped in relationships of manipulation and unending jealousy, controlled by Byleth's influence. But were these people prepared for the consequences? The symbolic meaning of Byleth's attributes and powers is deeply intertwined with themes of command, power, war, love, respect, and the balance between inspiration and control. A stark contrast to the subtle manipulations of Oligos and the volatile passions incited by Zephyr. And Byleth's role as a commander speaks to the human need for strong leadership in times of conflict. The desire for a figure who can guide and protect us from harm. But does this need for leadership justify the use of fear and intimidation, the suppression of dissent, and the sacrifice of individual freedoms in the name of collective security? His power to inspire love can be interpreted as a symbol of the emotional connection between leaders and followers, the bond of loyalty and trust that unites them in pursuit of a common goal. But is this love genuine, or merely a form of Stockholm Syndrome, a psychological manipulation that blinds followers to the true nature of their leader and the potential consequences of their actions? It's likely that Byleth's love is more akin to loyalty. As we turn our gaze toward the next demon, let us seek one whose dominion touches upon the realms of justice, diplomacy, or peace, maintaining the thematic thread while introducing a contrasting element, perhaps one associated with fairness, compromise, or the resolution of conflict through peaceful means, providing a counterpoint to Byleth's warlike nature and the potential for tyranny. Suggesting that true strength lies not in the ability to dominate others, but in the capacity to build consensus, to foster understanding, and to create a world where conflict is no longer necessary, but it also runs the risk of making one weak. Does true strength lie in love or fear? However, we must acknowledge the opposing view, the cautionary tales that portray Byleth as a dangerous entity who promotes violence, tyranny, and the abuse of power, citing religious warnings about the dire consequences of seeking influence through demonic forces, painting a grim picture of spiritual corruption and eternal damnation. And these accounts often depict Byleth as a tempter who offers fleeting glimpses of military glory and passionate devotion, only to ensnare his victims in a web of paranoia, oppression, and unending violence, leaving them stripped of their humanity, their relationships, and ultimately their very souls. But are these warnings merely superstitious fears? Or do they reflect a profound understanding of the destructive potential of unchecked ambition and the seductive lure of forbidden knowledge? Is it possible to harness Byleth's power without succumbing to his influence, or is any attempt to control him ultimately a Faustian bargain that can only lead to ruin? Despite these counterarguments, the multifaceted nature of Byleth remains undeniable, a complex archetype embodying the potential for both strong leadership and tyrannical abuse, the ethical dilemmas of wielding power, and the need for respect, empathy, and ethical decision-making. But does he lean one way or the other? Byleth serves as a stark reminder of the seductive allure of forbidden knowledge and the potential consequences of seeking power through the exploitation of human emotions, with the ethical considerations always present. Ultimately, his enduring presence in occult traditions mirrors humanity's ongoing fascination with the hidden forces that shape our destinies, and serves as a cautionary tale about the need for ethical responsibility, critical thinking, and a balanced approach to both command and control. Does true leadership require fear, love, or a combination of both? And is Byleth a tyrant or a benevolent commander, forever caught between these opposing forces? Where Byleth commands legions through fear and a twisted sort of love, Fornius emerges as a great marquis of hell, his power not in brute force, but in the subtle art of persuasion, offering the ability to teach arts, sciences, and rhetoric, grant a good name, and make one loved by both friends and enemies. But is this love genuine, or merely a carefully constructed illusion? While Byleth focuses on the battlefield, Fornius navigates the treacherous terrains of diplomacy and communication. This seemingly paradoxical nature of Fornius, a demon who can make one loved even by their enemies, hints at the potential for manipulation, a masterclass in deception, or perhaps a genuine path towards reconciliation. But does this love extend to a cessation of hostilities, a true and lasting peace, or is it simply a facade, a temporary truce masking deeper resentments and betrayals ready to ignite? Fornius commands 29 legions of spirits, a force far less than Byleth's massive armies, yet his influence is significant, a testament to the power of intellect, strategy, and the spoken word, suggesting that true power lies not in the number of soldiers, but in the ability to sway minds and bend wills. But can words alone truly conquer hearts and minds, or is there always a hidden cost? A price paid in integrity, trust, and perhaps even the soul. To truly understand the nature of Fornius, we must delve into the etymological origins of his name, a journey that may lead us to uncover forgotten connections to ancient languages, mythologies, and historical figures associated with rhetoric, diplomacy, or the art of communication. But what secrets lie hidden within his very name? Some scholars propose a link to Latin roots, suggesting a connection to furnace, meaning oven or furnace, which may symbolize the fiery passion of persuasive speech or the crucible of intellectual debate. But does this imply that Fornius is a master of controlling and manipulating the heat of conversation, capable of forging new realities with carefully chosen words? Others suggest a connection to more obscure linguistic origins, tracing his name back to forgotten dialects or ancient cults, hinting at a lineage far older and more mysterious than previously imagined. But could Fornius be a relic of a bygone era, a forgotten deity whose power has been demonized and twisted by the passage of time? A cautionary tale of the dangers of suppressed knowledge and the enduring power of ancient beliefs. Beyond the pages of the Ars Goetia, Fornius makes appearances in various other grimoires and occult texts, each contributing subtle variations to his description, attributed powers, and associated rituals. And while his core attributes remain consistent, the ability to teach, grant favor, and inspire love, the emphasis shifts across different accounts, some highlighting his role as a master rhetorician, a mentor capable of unlocking the secrets of persuasive speech, while others focus on his capacity to manipulate relationships, turning enemies into allies or sowing discord among friends. But do these differing interpretations reflect a genuine evolution in the understanding of Fornius, or merely the subjective biases of the authors, projecting their own desires and fears onto a figure of immense intellectual power? Some texts draw parallels between Fornius and figures like Phurkes, another demon known for imparting knowledge. But while Phurkes specializes in philosophy and astronomy, Fornius hones the skills of communication. But is this distinction merely a matter of specialization, or does it reflect a fundamental difference in their nature and motivations? With Phurkes seeking to enlighten the mind and Fornius seeking to control the will. Consider the potential links between Fornius and figures such as Hermes Mercury, the gods of communication, eloquence, and trickery, or perhaps even historical figures like Cicero, the Roman statesman and orator renowned for his mastery of rhetoric and his ability to sway public opinion. But are these merely superficial similarities, or do they point to a deeper connection? A shared lineage of influence that stretches across cultures and millennia. Hermes, as a messenger of the gods, possessed the power to convey divine will, but also the cunning to deceive and manipulate, a duality that mirrors the ambiguous nature of Phornius's love. While Cicero's eloquence shaped the course of Roman history, but also contributed to political intrigue and social unrest, a testament to the double-edged sword of persuasive speech. But could Phornius be the inspiration behind these figures, a demonic muse whispering secrets into the ears of those who seek to master the art of communication, a hidden force shaping the course of history from behind the scenes? According to the Ars Goetia, Phornius possesses the power to teach arts, sciences, and rhetoric, grant a good name, and make one loved by both friends and enemies. But what are the precise boundaries of these abilities, and what are the potential ramifications of wielding such influence? Can he truly bestow genius upon the intellectually barren, transforming them into masters of knowledge and discourse, or does he merely unlock latent potential, amplifying existing skills and providing the confidence to express them effectively? Is the good name he grants a reflection of genuine merit and achievement, or a carefully crafted illusion, a facade of respectability built on lies, deceit, and manipulation, a house of cards destined to collapse under the weight of truth? And what of his ability to make one loved by enemies? Is this a genuine transformation of hearts and minds, a miraculous reconciliation born of empathy and understanding, or a mere tactical advantage, a temporary cessation of hostilities designed to lull opponents into a false sense of security, a prelude to betrayal? While no definitive physical description of Phornius exists, analyzing the symbolic significance of his attributed powers can offer insights into his potential appearance and motivations. But what form does this demon take? One could imagine him as a charismatic orator, his voice resonating with hypnotic power, his words weaving spells of persuasion that captivate and enthrall, his very presence radiating an aura of irresistible charm. But could this be a mere illusion, a carefully constructed persona designed to mask a darker truth, a subtle reminder that even the most eloquent speaker can be a master of deceit? Or perhaps he appears as a wizened scholar, his eyes burning with ancient knowledge, his face etched with the weight of centuries, his very being embodying the power of intellect and the pursuit of enlightenment. But might this mask a hidden agenda, a hunger for power disguised as a thirst for knowledge, a subtle warning that the pursuit of enlightenment can lead down dangerous paths? It is possible he is an ambiguous figure that is both charming and wise. Within the demonic hierarchy, Phornius holds the position of a great marquis, a rank that places him above many other demons, yet below the most powerful kings and dukes. But what does this tell us about his role and responsibilities within the infernal court? Does he serve as a mediator, a diplomat navigating the treacherous relationships between rival factions, using his powers of persuasion to maintain a fragile peace? Or is he a schemer, a manipulator playing different sides against each other in pursuit of his own hidden agenda? While the Ars Goetia does not explicitly detail Phornius's relationships with other demons, it is possible to speculate on potential alliances and conflicts based on their shared attributes and competing ambitions, perhaps finding common ground with Oligos, another demon associated with knowledge and secrets, or clashing with Zephyr, whose influence over love and passion might conflict with Phornius's more subtle approach. But what secrets do these demons share, and what hidden agendas might they be pursuing together in the shadows of the infernal court? Grimoires and occult texts reveal rituals for summoning Phornius that emphasize the importance of eloquence, clear communication, and a genuine desire for knowledge or influence. But what specific steps must one take to invoke his presence, and what offerings might appease his discerning intellect? These rituals often involve the recitation of carefully crafted incantations, the drawing of intricate sigils, and the creation of a consecrated space designed to resonate with Fornius's unique energy. But does the efficacy of these rituals stem from the intrinsic power of the words and symbols themselves, or from the conjurer's unwavering belief and focused intention, amplifying the desired outcome and bending reality to their will? Unlike rituals for summoning demons of war or passion, those for Fornius often involve elements of communication, such as writing letters, composing speeches, or engaging in intellectual debates, suggesting that the key to unlocking his power lies in the ability to articulate one's desires clearly and persuasively. But can words alone truly bind a demon, or is there always a deeper sacrifice required? A price paid in blood, tears, or perhaps even the slow erosion of the soul? Historical accounts and modern occultists who claim to have worked with Fornius offer a glimpse into the types of requests made: rhetorical skill, diplomatic success, reconciliation with enemies, and the reported outcomes. But these accounts are inevitably colored by personal biases and subjective interpretations, making it difficult to discern verifiable truth from embellished claims or outright fabrications. So what is the truth? Some recount tales of aspiring orators who sought Fornius's aid in mastering the art of persuasive speech, achieving fame and fortune through their eloquence, only to find themselves consumed by arrogance, vanity, and the relentless pursuit of applause. But did Fornius truly grant them their success, or did he merely amplify their existing flaws, turning them into hollow shells of their former selves, slaves to the fleeting approval of the crowd? Others whisper of diplomats who sought Fornius's assistance in brokering peace between warring nations, achieving temporary truces that ultimately dissolved into even greater conflicts, suggesting that his influence is not a genuine force for reconciliation, but a mere manipulation of appearances, a temporary bandage masking deeper wounds. But can any lasting peace be achieved through deceit? Consider the case of a modern politician seeking to bridge divides between opposing factions. Using techniques that would be at home in any summoning ritual, they work to get Fornius's gifts of rhetoric, attempting to inspire unity and cooperation through persuasive speech. But what is required? While their words may initially soothe tensions and create a sense of common ground, beneath the surface, manipulation and hidden agendas may fester, ultimately undermining the possibility of genuine reconciliation. This scenario underscores the ethical complexities of using rhetoric for influence, especially when the lines between genuine communication and manipulative persuasion blur, with the politician potentially becoming a tool for darker forces, sacrificing their integrity and values in the pursuit of power. But can any good truly come from such arrangements? The symbolic meaning of Fornius's attributes and powers revolves around themes of communication, persuasion, diplomacy, and the potential for both positive and negative influence. A subtle contrast to Byleth's direct command and Zeppar's volatile passions. But what can we truly infer? His ability to teach rhetoric represents the human desire for knowledge and the power of language to shape reality, but also the potential for words to be used as weapons to deceive, manipulate, and control. While his capacity to grant a good name speaks to the importance of reputation and social standing, but also the dangers of vanity, arrogance, and the pursuit of hollow praise. But could we suggest that Fornius is not evil, but a mirror reflecting that which is in the summoner? His ability to make one loved by enemies can be interpreted as a symbol of the power of communication to bridge divides and overcome conflict, but also the deceptive nature of appearances, the potential for empathy to be feigned, and the fragility of trust, suggesting that true connection requires more than just eloquent words. It demands honesty, integrity, and a genuine desire for understanding. But are these qualities truly compatible with the pursuit of demonic influence? As we prepare to delve into the nature of the next demon, let us seek one whose dominion touches upon the realms of truth, deception, or perhaps even the hidden nature of reality itself, maintaining the thematic thread while introducing a contrasting element, potentially one associated with illusion, mystery, or the blurring of boundaries between the seen and unseen. Offering a counterpoint to Phoneus's focus on communication and influence, suggesting that true power lies not in the ability to persuade, but in the capacity to perceive the world as it truly is, stripped of all artifice and deceit. But does such clarity come at a cost, and can we truly bear the weight of ultimate truth? However, we must acknowledge the opposing view, the warnings that portray Phoneus as a deceptive entity whose love is merely a superficial charm, a form of manipulation, or a temporary truce masking deeper conflicts, citing the potential dangers of relying on charm and rhetoric as primary strategies, and emphasizing the importance of honesty, integrity, and genuine empathy in building lasting relationships and resolving conflicts peacefully. But what is to be believed? This darker perspective suggests that Phoneus represents the shadow side of diplomacy, the potential for communication to be used for self-serving purposes or to justify harmful actions, and that dealing with him could amplify these tendencies, leading to a descent into moral compromise and the erosion of genuine connection. But are these dangers inherent in the demon himself, or merely a reflection of the conjurer's own flawed intentions, amplifying existing tendencies and leading them down a path of ruin? Is it not the summoner who decides the nature of rhetoric? Despite these counter-arguments, the multifaceted nature of Phoneus remains undeniable, a complex archetype embodying the potential for both genuine connection and deceptive manipulation, the ethical dilemmas of persuasion, and the need for honesty, integrity, and genuine empathy. But what does this mean in the larger picture? Phoneus serves as a reminder of the seductive allure of forbidden knowledge and the potential consequences of seeking power through the exploitation of human relationships, with the ethical considerations always present. But is he evil? Ultimately, his enduring presence in occult traditions mirrors humanity's ongoing fascination with the hidden forces that shape our destinies, and serves as a cautionary tale about the need for ethical responsibility, critical thinking, and a balanced approach to both communication and influence, forcing us to ask, can we wield the power of persuasion without sacrificing our own integrity? And can we truly reconcile with our enemies, or is love always a form of manipulation, a means to an end? Where Phoneus sought to influence minds through persuasive speech, Amjujas, the 29th spirit, emerges as a great Duke of Hell, commanding 29 legions not through rhetoric, but through the raw, untamed power of music and storms. Unlike Phoneus's subtle manipulations of relationships, Amjujas wields elemental control, a shift from interpersonal influence to the grand stage of nature itself. But is this merely a chaotic display of force, or is there a hidden order, a sinister symphony underlying the tempest? Amjujas, often appearing initially as a unicorn before transforming into a man, sets a tone of magical transformation and hidden potential. But does this transformation imply control over his chaotic powers, or merely a temporary containment of an otherwise unbridled force? To understand the full scope of Amjujas's power, we must delve into the possible etymological origins of his name, researching potential connections to ancient languages, mythologies, or historical figures associated with music, storms, or transformation. But does his name hold a clue to the true nature of his influence? While definitive origins remain elusive, some scholars propose links to ancient Celtic or Germanic roots, associating his name with words signifying destruction, noise, or tempest, suggesting a connection to the raw, destructive forces of nature. But could there be a deeper, more harmonious meaning hidden beneath the surface of these violent associations? Others suggest a connection to ancient musical terminology, implying that Amjujas's name itself is a form of sonic key, a resonance that unlocks his elemental abilities, But if so, what is the specific frequency, the hidden melody within his name that commands the storms? Beyond the descriptions in the Ars Goetia, Amjujas makes appearances in various other grimoires and occult texts, each offering subtle variations in his depiction, attributed powers, and associated rituals. But do these variations reveal a deeper understanding of his nature, or merely the subjective interpretations of different occult traditions? While the Ars Goetia emphasizes his control over music and storms, some texts highlight his ability to manipulate trees and vegetation, suggesting a broader dominion over the natural world, a power that extends beyond sound and weather. But is this control absolute, or is it subject to the whims of nature itself, a precarious balance between order and chaos? The unicorn form, while not always consistently mentioned, often serves as a recurring motif, a symbol of purity, magic, and hidden potential. But does this initial appearance as a creature of myth imply a benevolent nature, a tempering influence on his destructive powers, or is it merely a deceptive facade, a beautiful mask concealing a storm of infernal energy? According to the Ars Goetia, Amjujas's attributes and powers are defined by his ability to control music, create storms, and transform from a unicorn into a man. But what are the precise limits of these abilities, and how do they intertwine? Can he truly control all music, bending any melody to his will, or is he limited to specific genres, scales, or frequencies that resonate with his elemental nature? A sonic signature that amplifies his power, but is there a specific connection between the type of music and the type of storm he can create, a dark symphony of destruction? In what kind of storms can he conjure gentle rain, raging hurricanes, or something far more unnatural, a tempest born not of atmospheric pressure, but of pure demonic will, a storm that defies the laws of physics, a localized phenomenon of raw chaos? His depiction as a unicorn that transforms into a man is rich with symbolic meaning, but does this transformation represent control, a mastery over his primal instincts, or a surrender to human desires, a fall from grace that unleashes his destructive potential? Within the complex hierarchy of hell, Amjujas holds the rank of Great Duke, but what does this position entail in terms of his responsibilities and his relationships with other demons? Considering the other spirits we've explored, is he in conflict with oligos for control of hidden knowledge? Does he find common ground with Zepa in their shared ability to influence living beings? Does he work in concert with Veilfa, Malfaz, and Halfas as they sow discord? Does he have any allegiance with Furkas and Raum as he bends the forces of the planet to his will? What does his relationship with Marchojas and Gop suggest of his role in the infernal armies? Is he under Asmodeus's command, or does he answer to Pema or Baal? The Ars Goetia does not explicitly detail these connections, but understanding his place within this demonic web can illuminate his motivations and his potential influence on the mortal world. But could this position within the hierarchy be a constraint, a limitation on his power, or does it merely provide him with the resources and authority to amplify his destructive tendencies, unleashing his storms upon a world ill prepared for their fury? Grimoires and occult texts outline specific rituals for summoning Amjujas, but what offerings, incantations, or preparations are required to gain his attention and bend him to one's will? And how do these rituals differ when seeking musical inspiration versus elemental control? Do musical instruments play a key role in the conjuration? These rituals often involve chanting sonic vibrations that resonate with Amjujas's frequency, the creation of storm-like conditions within the ritual chamber, and the offering of artistic creations as tribute. But are these mere symbolic gestures, or do they tap into a deeper energetic connection, a resonant harmony that binds the demon to the conjurer's will? Unlike rituals invoking demons of war or lust, those for Amjujas often emphasize the importance of artistic expression and a deep understanding of natural forces, suggesting that true mastery over this demon requires not only magical skill, but also a genuine connection to the creative and destructive forces of the universe. But could this connection be a double-edged sword, amplifying not only the conjurer's power, but also their own inner chaos, leading to a descent into madness or self-destruction? Accounts from historical sources and modern occultists who claim to have worked with Amjujas paint a varied picture of requests made and outcomes achieved. But how much of these accounts are based on demonstrable fact, and how much is fanciful storytelling? Some seek his aid in musical composition, hoping to capture the raw energy of a storm in their melodies, while others request his power to manipulate weather patterns, bringing rain to parched lands or unleashing tempests upon their enemies. But are these mere tales of wishful thinking, or do they reflect a genuine ability to influence the natural world through demonic intervention? A Faustian bargain with unpredictable consequences. The results are often chaotic and unpredictable. Can one truly control the artistic process, or is it a force that works through the artist? And can the weather be tamed by an individual, or will it become an indiscriminate weapon? Consider the example of a composer seeking inspiration from Amjujas for a symphony that captures the essence of a hurricane. The composer may find that the music they create is not only powerful and evocative, but also strangely unsettling, imbued with a chaotic energy that seems to spill over into their personal life, causing emotional turmoil and strained relationships. This raises the question, did Amjujas simply provide the inspiration, or did he subtly manipulate the composer's emotions, amplifying their inner turmoil and using them as a conduit for his own chaotic energy? Similarly, a modern-day attempt to control the weather for agricultural purposes could backfire, leading to catastrophic floods or droughts in neighboring regions. Did the demon orchestrate this, or was it simply the result of hubris? The symbolic meaning of Amjujas's attributes and powers are inextricably intertwined with themes of chaos, harmony, transformation, and the profound influence of art upon the fabric of reality, and this demonstrates the nature of the demonic. His unicorn form, a symbol of purity and magic, stands in stark contrast to his control over storms, representing the raw, untamed forces of nature, a duality that suggests a complex and multifaceted being. But does the transformation between these forms represent a reconciliation of opposing forces, or a constant struggle between order and chaos within the demon's own nature? His control over music can be interpreted as a metaphor for the power of art to shape emotions, inspire action, and even alter the course of history, but also the potential for art to be used as a tool of manipulation, propaganda, or even destruction. But what does this say about the human condition? Is creativity merely a tool, or is it something far more dangerous? As we prepare to turn our attention to the next demon, let us seek one whose dominion complements or contrasts with Amjujas's chaotic energy, perhaps a spirit associated with order, structure, or the hidden patterns that underlie the seeming randomness of the universe, maintaining the thematic thread of power and control while introducing a new perspective. A different approach to wielding influence over the world. But is such order truly possible, or is chaos the fundamental reality, a force that will inevitably undermine any attempt at control, a dark symphony that will ultimately drown out the voices of reason and logic? However, it is essential to acknowledge the opposing view, the warnings that portray Amjujas as a dangerous entity who promotes chaos, destruction, and the reckless use of power, citing cautionary tales of artists driven to madness by their demonic inspiration, or whether manipulators who unleash unforeseen catastrophes. But what is the truth? This perspective emphasizes the potential dangers of invoking elemental forces without proper knowledge, skill, and ethical considerations, and that dealing with him could amplify these tendencies, leading to a descent into recklessness and moral compromise. But does the blame lie with Amjujas, or with the summoner who lacks the will to use his power responsibly? Is it possible for someone to invoke a spirit of chaos without becoming consumed by it? Despite these counterarguments, the multifaceted nature of Amjujas remains undeniable, a complex archetype embodying the potential for both artistic creation and elemental destruction, the ethical dilemmas of wielding creative power, and the need for discipline, skill, and ethical responsibility. So, what does this all suggest? Amjujas serves as a reminder of the seductive allure of forbidden knowledge and the potential consequences of seeking power through the manipulation of natural forces. A cautionary tale about the need for ethical responsibility, critical thinking, and a balanced approach to both artistic expression and elemental control. Forcing us to ask, can we harness the power of chaos without becoming consumed by it? And can we truly distinguish between inspiration and manipulation, or is the line between them forever blurred in the realm of demonic influence? As we shift from Amjujas's chaotic power over storms and music, we now turn to Alos's, the 52nd spirit of the Ars Goetia, a great Duke of Hell who commands 36 legions, but not through elemental fury or sonic manipulation. Alos's offers a different kind of influence, knowledge, particularly in astronomy and the liberal sciences, and the provision of good familiars. Unlike Fornius's manipulation or Amjujas's raw power, Alos's offers intellectual and social influence, a return to subtlety, but are these familiars truly benevolent guides, or are they subtle instruments of Alos's will, extensions of his influence, and are their intentions truly aligned with the summoner's desires, or do they serve a hidden agenda? Alos's, often depicted as a knight riding a great horse, sets a tone of chivalry and martial knowledge, but does this noble exterior conceal a more insidious purpose, a subtle form of control masked by the guise of enlightenment? To fully grasp Alos's role, we must explore the etymological origins of his name, searching for connections to ancient languages, mythologies, or historical figures associated with nobility, astronomy, or knowledge. But does the very name, Alos's, hold a secret key to understanding his true nature and influence? While direct etymological links are debated, some scholars suggest a connection to the Latin word allocutio, meaning address or speech, implying that Alos's power lies in his ability to communicate knowledge and influence through his words and his familiars. But could this speech be a form of subtle manipulation? A carefully crafted narrative designed to lead the summoner down a particular path, a path of Alos's choosing. Others propose a connection to astronomical terms, linking his name to constellations or celestial events, suggesting that his knowledge extends beyond earthly matters, offering glimpses into cosmic secrets. But what price must be paid for such forbidden knowledge, and what consequences await those who dare to gaze into the abyss of the cosmos? Is there also a link to orders of knights, and if so, what would that suggest? Beyond the Ars Goetia, Alos's appears in various other grimoires and occult texts, each offering unique insights into his powers and attributes. But do these variations offer a more complete picture of Alos's, or do they simply reflect the biases and interpretations of different occult traditions? Some texts emphasize his expertise in logic and rhetoric, highlighting his ability to persuade and convince, while others focus on his role as a guardian of hidden knowledge, entrusted with secrets that could transform the world. But are these secrets meant to enlighten humanity, or are they dangerous truths best left undisturbed, knowledge that could shatter the foundations of reality? And who is truly worthy to wield such power? The description of his familiars also varies, with some texts portraying them as loyal servants who obey the summoner's every command, while others suggest a more symbiotic relationship, where the familiars offer guidance and support in exchange for energy or devotion. But is this exchange truly equal, or does Alos's subtly drain the summoner's life force, using their ambition and desire for knowledge as fuel for his own agenda? According to the Ars Goetia, Alos's defining attributes are his expertise in astronomy and the liberal sciences, his ability to provide good familiars, and his noble status as a great Duke of Hell. But what specific scientific knowledge does he offer, and what are the limitations on his familiar's abilities? Does his astronomical knowledge extend to the workings of the cosmos, the movements of planets, and the secrets of the stars? Or is it limited to more practical applications, such as navigation, astrology, and divination? And what ethical considerations arise when using such knowledge to manipulate events or predict the future? What are the qualifications for good familiars, and how does ARS determine who is worthy to receive them? Are they truly benevolent guides, or are they simply reflections of the summoner's own desires and ambitions, amplifying their strengths and weaknesses and subtly leading them towards a predetermined fate? His depiction as a knight riding a great horse further complicates his character, evoking images of chivalry, honor, and martial prowess. But is this a genuine reflection of his nature, or is it merely a carefully crafted facade designed to deceive and manipulate, a noble mask concealing a demonic heart? Within the demonic hierarchy, ARS occupies the position of Great Duke. But how does his rank influence his interactions with other demons, and what specific responsibilities does he hold within the infernal court? Given his focus on knowledge and familiars, does he collaborate with oligos, sharing secrets and strategies for influencing mortals, or is there a rivalry between them, a competition for the most promising souls? Does he find common ground with Zephyr, using his familiars to manipulate the passions and desires of others, or does he disapprove of Zephyr's crude methods, preferring a more subtle and intellectual approach to corruption? What are his connections to Byleth, Veilfar, Malphaz, Halfaz, Furkaz, Raum, Marchosias, Gop, Asmodeus, Payman, and Baal? Is he a pawn in their schemes, or does he pursue his own independent agenda, using his knowledge and influence to further his own ambitions? And what are the ultimate goals of this noble duke, and what sacrifices is he willing to make to achieve them? Is he even truly noble, or is the idea that demons cannot be honorable just another lie? Grimoires and occult texts detail various rituals for summoning ARS, each with specific requirements for offerings, incantations, and preparations. But how do these rituals differ when seeking knowledge versus familiars, and what precautions must be taken to avoid unintended consequences? Do certain herbs, incense, or talismans enhance the effectiveness of the summoning, and what are the risks associated with using such aids? Does the time of day, the phase of the moon, or the alignment of the planets influence the success of the ritual? And how can one accurately determine the most auspicious moment to invoke ARS's presence? What kind of offerings are appropriate for a demon of nobility and knowledge? These rituals often involve elaborate ceremonies, complex incantations, and the offering of precious objects or sacrifices. But are these mere symbolic gestures, or do they tap into a deeper energetic connection, binding the summoner to ARS's will? And what price must be paid for this connection, and can it ever truly be broken? Historical accounts and modern occultists who claim to have worked with ARS offer a range of perspectives on the knowledge sought, the nature of the familiars acquired, and the outcomes experienced. But how reliable are these accounts, and what biases might influence their interpretations? Did these familiars act independently, or were they extensions of ARS's will, puppets dancing to his tune? And were the summoners truly aware of the forces they were dealing with, or were they blinded by their own ambition and desire for power? Some seek his guidance in scientific pursuits, hoping to unlock the secrets of the universe, while others request his aid in political endeavors, seeking strategic alliances and influence over others. But what are the ethical implications of using demonic knowledge to achieve worldly success, and does the end ever justify the means? Consider the example of a scholar seeking ARS's knowledge to unravel the mysteries of dark matter. The scholar might gain profound insights into the nature of the cosmos, but at what cost? Did ARS simply impart the knowledge, or did he subtly manipulate the scholar's mind, planting seeds of doubt and paranoia, leading to a descent into madness? Imagine a politician seeking Alos's guidance to secure a strategic alliance. The politician might achieve their goals, but at what price? Did Alos simply provide the information, or did he subtly corrupt the politician's morals, leading to a betrayal of their principles and a loss of their soul? How was the knowledge applied to real-world situations? It may be difficult to determine Alos's influence within these frameworks. The symbolic meaning of Alos's attributes and powers centers on themes of knowledge, nobility, guidance, and the potential for subtle manipulation. But how do these themes intertwine, and what do they reveal about the nature of demonic influence? His knightly appearance can be interpreted as a symbol of honor, discipline, and the pursuit of knowledge, suggesting a noble and virtuous character. But could this be a deceptive facade, a way of masking his true intentions and what lies beneath this veneer of nobility? His familiars represent the potential for both wisdom and insidious influence, depending on their nature and the summoner's intent. But are they truly independent entities, or are they mere extensions of Alos's will, instruments of his power, and does the summoner truly control them? Or are they subtly controlled by Alos's, their desires and ambitions shaped to serve his purposes? Does he represent the ideal of the noble mentor, or a corruption of it? Does he represent our higher selves? As we prepare to move on to the next demon, let us seek one whose nature contrasts with Alos's noble demeanor, perhaps a spirit associated with chaos, rebellion, or a rejection of traditional authority, challenging the established order. But is such rebellion truly virtuous, or is it merely a form of self-destructive pride? And what are the consequences of defying the established hierarchies? Both demonic and human. Let us continue our exploration of the demonic realm, uncovering the hidden truths and challenging the conventional understanding. But are we truly prepared for the knowledge we seek? And what price will we pay for daring to gaze into the abyss? However, it is essential to acknowledge the opposing view, the warnings that portray Alos as a deceptive entity whose nobility is a facade, his knowledge is tainted, and his familiars are instruments of manipulation, citing cautionary tales of those who sought his guidance and suffered tragic consequences. But what is the truth behind these stories? And can we truly trust the accounts of those who have dealt with demons? This perspective emphasizes the dangers of seeking knowledge from demonic forces, arguing that it inevitably leads to corruption, madness, and the loss of one's soul. But is this a universal truth, or are there exceptions to the rule? And can some individuals possess the strength and wisdom to resist Alos's influence, using his knowledge for good? Despite these counterarguments, Alos remains a multifaceted figure, a complex archetype embodying the potential for both genuine guidance and subtle manipulation, the ethical dilemmas of mentorship, and the need for independent thought, critical thinking, and ethical decision-making. Alos serves as a reminder of the seductive allure of forbidden knowledge and the potential consequences of seeking power through demonic means, a cautionary tale about the need for discernment, ethical responsibility, and a balanced approach to both guidance and self-reliance. So, what can we take away from Alos's influence? Can we separate true knowledge from the lies that demons may give us? Is nobility just a facade? Ultimately, Alos forces us to confront the question of whether nobility is inherent or a mask for manipulation, and whether his demonic nature undermines any claim to honor, leaving us to ponder the true nature of guidance and the responsibility that comes with wielding knowledge. But are we ready to face the answers? As we consider the noble Alos and his knowledge of astronomy and the liberal sciences, we now turn to Cain, the 53rd spirit of the ARS Goetia, a great president of hell. Unlike Alos's measured demeanor and scientific pursuits, Cain offers true answers, teaches the language of animals, and commands in the theater of argumentative debate. But does his truth always serve the summoner, or can the sting of absolute honesty leave a more lasting wound than any lie? Is this a truth always beneficial, or merely a path to self-destruction? Came, a demon initially appearing as a thrush, then transforming into a man carrying a sharp sword, sets a tone of duality, of the gentle songbird that morphs into a bringer of conflict. But what does this transformation truly signify? Is Came a path to true understanding, or is he merely a master of rhetoric, capable of turning any argument to his advantage, regardless of the truth? To understand Came's nature, we must explore the etymological origins of his name, searching for connections to ancient languages, mythologies, or historical figures associated with birds, debate, or the pursuit of truth. But does the name Came itself hold a key to understanding his dual nature and the potential consequences of seeking absolute truth? While definitive etymological links remain elusive, some scholars propose a connection to the Hebrew word Cain, often associated with smith or spear, hinting at the transformative power of Came and his capacity to both create and destroy through the spoken word. Others suggest links to ancient bird deities, beings associated with prophecy and knowledge, implying that Came's ability to speak the language of animals is not merely a parlor trick, but a connection to a deeper, more primal understanding of the world. But what happens when that primal understanding clashes with human sensibilities? Does Came provide true enlightenment, or does he simply amplify the inherent conflicts between the human and animal worlds? Beyond the Ars Goetia, Came's presence is noted in various other grimoires and occult texts, each offering unique insights into his powers and attributes. But do these varied accounts paint a more complete picture of Came, or do they merely reflect the biases and interpretations of different occult traditions? Some texts emphasize his role as a guardian of hidden knowledge, entrusted with secrets that could unravel the fabric of reality, while others focus on his capacity to incite conflict and discord, turning allies into enemies through the power of persuasive argument. Is Came a force for enlightenment, or is he simply a catalyst for chaos, a demonic provocateur who delights in sowing seeds of doubt and division? While some grimoires highlight his ability to speak truthfully, others warn of the dangers of seeking absolute truth, suggesting that some secrets are best left buried, that the unvarnished reality can be too much for the human mind to bear. So is Came a bringer of light or a harbinger of darkness, and what determines the outcome of any encounter with this complex entity? According to the Ars Goetia, Came's defining attributes are his ability to provide true answers, his knowledge of animal languages, and his skill in argumentative debate. But what are the limitations of these abilities, and what ethical considerations arise when wielding such power? Can he only speak the truth as he perceives it, or is he capable of understanding and conveying objective reality, regardless of his own biases and prejudices? Does his knowledge of animal languages extend to a true understanding of their thoughts and feelings, or is it merely a mimicry, a superficial imitation of their communication that lacks genuine empathy? And what are the moral implications of using this knowledge to manipulate or control animals, to bend their will to one's own desires? Is it right to exploit their trust and vulnerability for personal gain, or does such action violate the natural order, leading to unforeseen and potentially disastrous consequences? What are his connections to Eligos, Zepar, Byleth, Vailfar, Malfars, Halfas, Furkas, Raum, Marchosias, Gop, Asmodeus, Payman, Baal, and Amjujas? Is he used as a pawn or as a player? Grimoires and occult texts detail various rituals for summoning Came, each with specific requirements for offerings, incantations, and preparations. But how do these rituals differ when seeking truth versus animal communication, and what precautions must be taken to avoid unintended consequences? Are there specific herbs, incense, or talismans that enhance the effectiveness of the summoning, and what are the risks associated with using such aids? Does the time of day, the phase of the moon, or the alignment of the planets influence the success of the ritual, and how can one accurately determine the most auspicious moment to invoke Came's presence? Do the rituals themselves reflect Came's duality, incorporating both gentle bird-like symbolism and sharp, sword-like imagery. Some rituals involve the offering of birds or other animals, while others require the drawing of intricate sigils with a sharp blade. But what is the true significance of these offerings, and how do they affect the outcome of the ritual? Are they mere symbolic gestures, or do they tap into a deeper energetic connection, binding the summoner to Kame's will, and what price must be paid for this connection? Historical accounts and modern occultists who claim to have worked with Kame offer a range of perspectives on the truths revealed, the animal languages learned, and the debates won. But how reliable are these accounts, and what biases might influence their interpretations? Did Kame's influence lead to genuine enlightenment, or did it simply reinforce the summoner's existing beliefs, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy? Did the ability to speak with animals lead to a deeper appreciation of the natural world, or did it simply amplify the summoner's sense of superiority, leading to further exploitation and abuse? Did the victories in debate lead to genuine understanding and reconciliation, or did they simply fuel the summoner's ego, creating further division and resentment? Consider the example of a politician seeking Kame's assistance in winning a crucial debate. The politician might gain the upper hand, swaying public opinion and securing victory, but at what cost? Did Kame simply provide the politician with persuasive arguments, or did he subtly manipulate their emotions, turning them into a ruthless demagogue, willing to sacrifice truth and integrity for the sake of power? How did they apply the knowledge they gained? The symbolic meaning of Kame's attributes and powers centers on themes of truth, communication, argumentation, transformation, and the potential for both enlightenment and conflict. But how do these themes intertwine, and what do they reveal about the nature of demonic influence? His initial appearance as a thrush can be interpreted as a symbol of innocence, vulnerability, and the hidden potential within the natural world, suggesting a gentle and benevolent nature. But is this merely a deceptive facade, a way of lulling the summoner into a false sense of security before revealing his true, more combative nature? His transformation into a man carrying a sharp sword can be seen as a symbol of reason, logic, and the power of the spoken word. But it also represents the potential for conflict, aggression, and the use of language as a weapon. So what does the sword truly represent? Is it a tool for cutting through deception and revealing the truth? Or is it simply a symbol of Kame's willingness to engage in ruthless, uncompromising debate, regardless of the consequences? As we prepare to move on to the next demon, let us turn to one whose nature contrasts with Kame's commitment to truth, perhaps a spirit associated with illusion, deception, or the manipulation of information, further exploring the complexities of knowledge and understanding. But how can we distinguish between truth and falsehood? And what are the ethical responsibilities of those who wield the power of communication? Let us delve deeper into the shadows, uncovering the hidden truths and challenging the conventional understanding. But are we truly prepared to confront the darker aspects of human nature? And can we maintain our own integrity in the face of such darkness? However, it is essential to acknowledge the opposing view, the warnings that portray Kame as a dangerous entity whose truth is biased. His communication skills are used for manipulation, and his argumentative nature promotes conflict and division, citing cautionary tales of those who sought his guidance and suffered tragic consequences. This perspective emphasizes the dangers of seeking knowledge from demonic forces, arguing that it inevitably leads to moral corruption, intellectual arrogance, and a loss of empathy for others. Is there any way to seek true knowledge without giving in to these negative qualities? This perspective also warns of the potential for Kame's influence to amplify one's own negative tendencies, turning them into a ruthless debater, obsessed with winning at all costs, regardless of the truth or the feelings of others. Is there truth to these tales? Despite these counterarguments, Kame remains a multifaceted figure, a complex archetype embodying the potential for both genuine enlightenment and destructive conflict, the ethical dilemmas of communication, and the need for balance, wisdom, and empathy. Hanh serves as a reminder of the seductive allure of truth and the potential consequences of wielding it irresponsibly, a cautionary tale about the need for discernment, ethical responsibility, and a balanced approach to both reason and emotion. Is it always right to seek the truth, even if it causes harm? Does Hanh offer a path to true understanding, or simply the ability to win arguments? Ultimately, Hanh forces us to confront the question of whether truth is an absolute good, or whether it must be tempered with compassion, empathy, and a recognition of the limitations of human understanding, leaving us to ponder the true nature of communication and the responsibility that comes with wielding the power of words. So, does his power offer a glimpse into a deeper sense of reality or a darker sense of chaos? What about the animals he speaks to? As we shift our focus from Hanh's argumentative truths and linguistic talents, we now turn to Murmur, the great Duke of Hell, a demon commanding legions and revered for his power over music, his capacity to impart philosophical knowledge, and the sonic fanfare that accompanies his arrival. But can music, a source of such profound emotional power, truly guide us to enlightenment, or is it merely a siren song luring us toward intellectual ruin? Does the harmony hide a deeper discord? Murmur, a figure who appears amidst the sounds of trumpets while offering philosophical wisdom, suggests a path to both intellectual and artistic enlightenment. But what is the connection between these seemingly disparate domains? Is Murmur a key to unlocking the universe's secrets? To understand Murmur, we must explore the etymological roots of his name, seeking connections to ancient languages, mythologies, or historical figures associated with music, philosophy, or warfare. But does the name, Murmur, itself hold a hidden clue to his nature, a secret whisper revealing his true power and purpose? The origin of the name Murmur is shrouded in mystery. Some believe it stems from the Latin word murmur, meaning a whisper or a rustling sound, suggesting a subtle influence, a quiet voice guiding one's thoughts rather than an overt command. Others propose connections to ancient musical terms or scales, hinting at a deeper understanding of the harmonic principles that govern the universe. Still others suggest that the murmur refers to the subtle whispers of doubt that philosophy can introduce into one's beliefs. Could Murmur's name be linked to specific musical keys, instruments, or philosophical schools of thought, offering insights into his nature and abilities? Beyond the Ars Goetia, Murmur makes appearances in various grimoires and occult texts, each providing unique details about his powers, attributes, and associated rituals. But do these varied accounts paint a consistent picture of Murmur, or do they present conflicting interpretations of his nature and abilities? While the Ars Goetia highlights his role as a teacher of philosophy and a source of musical inspiration, other texts emphasize his connection to warfare and strategic thinking, suggesting a more martial aspect to his character. Are there specific musical keys or instruments associated with his summoning, and what is the significance of these choices? Some grimoires claim that Murmur can grant the ability to understand the hidden meanings behind music, revealing its power to influence emotions, inspire creativity, and even manipulate reality. Other texts suggest that he can impart philosophical insights that challenge conventional wisdom, leading to profound shifts in one's worldview or madness. Is Murmur a master of harmony or a harbinger of intellectual chaos, and how does his influence affect those who seek his guidance? According to the Ars Goetia, Murmur's defining attributes are his ability to teach philosophy, answer questions, and the presence of trumpets signaling his arrival. But what are the limitations of these abilities, and what ethical considerations arise when seeking his guidance? Does he teach all forms of philosophy, or only specific schools of thought? And does his knowledge extend to both theoretical and practical applications? Are the trumpet sounds literal or symbolic, and what is the significance of this sonic fanfare? Can Murmur only answer questions about the past, present, or future, or does his knowledge encompass all possible realities? What are his relationships to Eligos, Zepar, Byleth, Vailfa, Malphas, Halphas, Furkas, Raum, Marchosias, Gop, Asmodeus, Payman, Baal, Amjujas, and Cain? Does he operate independently, or as part of a larger network of demonic influence? Grimoires and occult texts detail rituals for summoning murmur, each with specific requirements for offerings, incantations, and preparations. But how do these rituals differ when seeking philosophical knowledge versus musical inspiration, and what precautions must be taken to avoid unintended consequences? Do the rituals involve musical performances, and what is the significance of these offerings? Are there specific philosophical texts or musical compositions that enhance the effectiveness of the summoning, and what are the risks associated with using such aids? The rituals often involve the use of incense, candles, and specific geometric symbols, each designed to create a focused, energetic environment conducive to communication with murmur. But what is the true significance of these elements, and how do they affect the outcome of the ritual? Are they mere symbolic gestures, or do they tap into deeper spiritual forces, binding the summoner to murmur's will, and what price must be paid for this connection? Accounts from historical sources and modern occultists who claim to have worked with murmur offer diverse perspectives on the philosophical insights gained, the musical compositions inspired, and the strategic advantages achieved. But how reliable are these accounts, and what biases might influence their interpretations? Did murmur's influence lead to genuine enlightenment, or did it simply reinforce the summoner's existing beliefs, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy? Did the musical inspiration lead to creative breakthroughs, or did it simply result in derivative works lacking originality and depth? Did the strategic advice lead to victory, or did it ultimately backfire, resulting in unforeseen and disastrous consequences? Consider the example of a composer seeking murmur's assistance in creating a groundbreaking symphony. The composer might gain the ability to write music that evokes powerful emotions and resonates deeply with audiences, but at what cost? Did murmur simply provide the composer with technical skills and melodic ideas, or did he subtly manipulate their emotions, turning them into a tormented artist, obsessed with perfection and unable to find true happiness in their work? The symbolic meaning of murmur's attributes and powers centers on themes of knowledge, wisdom, harmony, warfare, and the pursuit of enlightenment. But how do these themes intertwine, and what do they reveal about the nature of demonic influence? The presence of trumpets can be interpreted as a symbol of revelation, divine inspiration, or the power of sound to unlock hidden knowledge, suggesting that murmur's teachings are accompanied by a profound sense of awakening and understanding. But what is the true nature of this revelation? Is it a glimpse into the divine, or a descent into madness? His depiction as a warrior riding a griffin can be seen as a symbol of strength, courage, and the ability to overcome obstacles in the pursuit of knowledge and enlightenment. But it also represents the potential for conflict, aggression, and the use of intellect as a weapon. Is the griffin a symbol of wisdom or a beast of war? And what does this duality reveal about murmur's true nature? As we prepare to move on to the next demon, let us turn to one whose influence contrasts with murmur's harmonious approach to knowledge, perhaps a spirit associated with chaos, discord, or the disruption of established systems, further exploring the complexities of the demonic realm. But can true understanding ever be achieved through order and harmony alone? Or is a touch of chaos necessary to break free from conventional thinking? Let us delve deeper into the mysteries of the Goetia, uncovering the hidden truths and challenging conventional understanding. But are we truly prepared to confront the darker aspects of knowledge? And can we maintain our own equilibrium in the face of such disruptive forces? However, it is essential to acknowledge the opposing view, the warnings that portray murmur as a deceptive entity whose philosophical teachings are ultimately flawed or misleading. His musical inspiration is chaotic and destructive, and his influence can lead to intellectual arrogance or a detachment from the real world. This perspective emphasizes the dangers of seeking knowledge from demonic forces, arguing that it inevitably leads to moral corruption, intellectual hubris, and a loss of empathy for others. Could it be that Murmur's wisdom is nothing more than a sophisticated form of deception, designed to lead us astray from the path of truth? Despite these counterarguments, Murmur remains a multifaceted figure, a complex archetype embodying the potential for both intellectual enlightenment and artistic inspiration, the ethical dilemmas of wielding knowledge, and the need for balance, wisdom, and ethical action. Murmur serves as a reminder of the seductive allure of knowledge and the potential consequences of pursuing it without a strong moral compass, a cautionary tale about the need for discernment, ethical responsibility, and a balanced approach to both intellect and creativity. So does his power offer a glimpse into a deeper understanding of the universe, or simply a path to intellectual arrogance and ruin? What is the price of enlightenment, and are we willing to pay it? As we draw to a close on our obsessive exploration of the 72 demons of the Ars Goetia, it's time to reflect on the long and winding path we've traveled together. What began as a journey through the pages of an ancient grimoire has become a deep dive into the human psyche, the hidden currents of history, and the enduring power of myth. The Goetic demons, as we've seen, are far from simple monsters lurking in the shadows. They represent complex archetypes, reflecting humanity's inner landscape and the universe around us. Their origins often lie in misinterpreted deities, their sigils hold layered symbolic meanings, and their stories connect to universal themes of power, knowledge, and transformation. Understanding them requires looking beyond the surface, considering their historical, psychological, and symbolic significance. They are not mere entities to be feared or dismissed, but figures that demand closer scrutiny. But what does the enduring fascination with these demons say about humanity's relationship with the unknown? How do these figures reflect and influence our understanding of morality, power, and the very nature of reality? Perhaps it reveals our inherent attraction to the forbidden, our desire to explore the darker aspects of existence, or our need to confront the shadows within ourselves. Understanding these demons provides insights into the human psyche, the nature of belief, and the hidden forces that shape our world, challenging conventional narratives. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the societies we create. Consider the implications of this exploration for your own understanding of good and evil, the power of belief, and the nature of reality. How do these demons challenge traditional views of the self, morality, and the cosmos? Are they external entities with independent agency, or are they projections of our own inner demons, the repressed desires and fears that haunt our subconscious? The 72 demons of the Ars Goetia are not just figures in a dusty book. They are mirrors reflecting the complexities of the human soul and the eternal mysteries of existence. They serve as a constant reminder that the line between light and darkness is often blurred, and that true understanding requires embracing the shadows as well as the light. If you've enjoyed this journey into the hidden corners of demonology, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. By subscribing, you're joining a community of individuals who are interested in exploring forbidden knowledge, challenging conventional thinking, and delving into the mysteries of the occult. In our next video, we'll be exploring the hidden symbolism in tarot. Activate the bell so you don't miss it. For more deep dives into the hidden corners of history, mythology, and the occult, subscribe now. Watch carefully what's at the tip of your thoughts.